All right. Excuse me. It is time to get the nonsense started for tonight. And started a little late, but we're here. And last time we started case 1 or episode 1 rather of the devil. Started investigating the quote unquote suicide of Dr. David Asher through I didn't realize my controller was being picked up at all. God damn it, I'm gonna have to worry about drift on my fucking controller while using a mouse to operate this game. Jesus Christ. I really need a new controller. Like, that is definitely what my next payout's going towards. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway. Load. Go. So. Where we left off last week was right as we were leaving the building and rioters were surrounding the building because they think Heartbreak killed Asher and as part of like some revolutionary plan of some sort. Well, I'm glad I can help with that at least, Nix. Also, hi, Cry. So, I'm not exactly sure where we are or what's going on right now because, like, the scene cut to black and I was like, okay, that was just, like, the perfect stopping point. So, anyway. I'm gonna have to get my voice to cooperate with me now. Give me 1 second to lubricate my throat. Okay. Thanks, you're a lifesaver. I mean, I got the joystick to sit in such a way that it's not causing a drift to happen, so that's good for now at least. But if I so much as touch my controller, I gotta deal with drift. But anyway, the next time that Bridezilla texts you, just turn your phone off. Thank you for the head pats. Also, what the fuck was that line, Morgan? Patty guy must have been due to go on break. When he tried and failed to find the witness's medical record, his data pad had the name blacked out. But I did see that they have Caduceus Executive 3, more expensive than David's, which means they most likely. How did you do that? You need to hold the buttons to get the doors to close faster. Mashing does nothing. That is not what I meant. There were many others who arrived before us. How did you get down here so quickly? Oh, I didn't do anything. It was that nurse who escorted us. Yes, you managed to get a stranger like him to help you with so few words, so little information. I don't think you even gave him your name. Haven't you heard of the Golden Rule? Of course I have. Treat others how you would want to be treated. Wrong. Treat others how they would want to be treated. He wanted someone that he could vent to. He wanted someone to pay attention to him. And he wanted to feel appreciated, which meant he'd be eager to help given the chance. Even just reading someone's mood is quite difficult. How can you know how another person wants to be treated? There are no mind readers. No one can ever know anything about what anyone's thinking. Maybe not even themselves. That true closed doors button is not hooked up 99.9% of the time. It's purely psychological. I mean, probably. One place that button works, and it's hospitals. Yup. Doesn't matter if they're your parent, your twin, your lover, it'll always be a gamble. That is not a very comforting sentiment. Well, I think it's fun. Only because you're good at it. How did you get so good at it? Same as anything. Observation and practice. Must have been observing and practicing for a very long time then. So we proceed down the hall, bear left, look for the fourth door. Gonna open the one that says morgue on it. Oh. Not what I was expecting. Not at all complaining, mind. One second, I need a drink. I haven't seen the judge yet, no. But, like, also... So, the centipede tattoo. I'm not usually one for centipedes, but she rocks it. Like, goddamn, madam. Like, I have yet to see a design in this game that is bad, and everything is, or everyone is so hot, like, Jesus Christ. Is that an artificial arm? Or is that just a gauntlet that she's wearing? Because, like, if you look at the hand, you can see, like, where the metal stops and the skin starts. So it's like she's wearing a clawed gauntlet. Which just makes her even cooler. There is definitely something there at the elbow joint now that you mention it, yeah. Like, I do appreciate that it could be either at a glance, and either way, it's hot. But God, what kind of voice am I supposed to give this lady? Oh, hey. Come on in. Don't stand out there in the... Cold wouldn't be accurate. Sorry about the chill in here, but I run a little hot. Yes, madam, you do. You can see my roommates never complain. Yumi Sato, medical examiner. Dr. Sato, just the lady I wanted to see. Though I didn't expect I'd get to. The fact that they've assigned a medical examiner and not some ad or junior means. Oh, you can just call me Yumi, and you're... Morgan. I represent the deceased. Okay, so... In episode 0, the green narration read, to me as, like, very, like, detective noir. And... So, that's just the voice I went with. And then it pans over and it's like, oh, this is her internal monologue. I'm like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. She just thinks in detective noir. The deceased? Oh, the deceased. Asher D. Wait, really? That's, weird. I thought the time slot was scheduled for a group of noble PR people who... I know, weird, right? Well, what the hell do I know? Just getting tired of hosting Megs anyway. I gotta finish typing up this report before we talk shop. But in the meantime, feel free to make yourself at home. Okay. That's a lot of screens. There's got to be diminishing returns on productivity. Why do you have so many monitors, ma'am? You can't just ask someone that. Good question. Every quarter when they do inventory and budgeting, they ask me if I need anything, and I never do, so I submit a blank form. But I guess a while back there was a +1 in a spreadsheet somewhere, and no one's ever corrected it, and so... boom, I get 4 new monitors every year. Jesus Christ. You run out of things to use them for? Sometimes. But this year, I've started running 2 dramas at once when I'm doing rote work, which helps. Just got 2 fucking soap operas going while she's doing paperwork. What a fucking legend. Watching 2 television shows at the same time helps you do rote work? Helps me use up the screens. I see. Are these all dead bodies? One would hope so. I only meant that I'm surprised to see them stored here. It suggests a backlog, which suggests a higher murder rate than the public data would lead one to expect. You only examine bodies for the police doctor? Oh, I wish. Most of my job involves confirming COD on natural deaths for insurance adjustments. Insurers want to blame the mod for failing. Mod makers want to blame the stiff for not exercising enough. Family says the company insurance plan would pay for mods, but not a gym membership. Yeah, that whole wall there is suspected defective liver mods, suspected leaking internal bio batteries, suspected CCIC. CCIC? Oh, the twist in episode 0 hit me like a bag or a ton of bricks. I figured something weird was going on. I just didn't expect the level of direct intervention that was happening. Climate change-induced complications. Well, that's a little too real. You can prove that climate change contributed to an otherwise natural death? Very, very rarely. It can be proved, or if it can be proved, what does that mean for the family of the deceased? Plus or minus 14% on the life insurance payout. I love Sarah's coat. It's so good. I mean, it's most of what I do, and I don't dislike my job. It's just so much of what I do boils down to telling a bunch of cheapskates how to split the dead man's bill. It's enough to make homicide feel like a breath of fresh air. Also, I'm just noticing there's a fucking trash bag just hanging out. There really nothing else to interact with? There it is. Okay, found it. Oh, definitely. I'm definitely going to. I just thought the stuff that unlocked there were like concept arts or like developer interviews, but nah. Apparently they're in character, and I will be going back for that. What's this hospital's What's this? The hospital's getting renamed? No, I guess it's some other hospital that got snapped up. Hospital renamed to Think Icaria Family. In a ribbon-cutting ceremony held uptown today, Potter Memorial Hospital was formally renamed the Northeastern Icaria Medical Complex in recognition of the family's incredibly generous donations over the last several years. Excuse me. It's the latest in a string of philanthropic efforts by the family to result in a name change after they paid for the renovations to the orchestra hall and the retrofitting of what used to be known as the Scout Arena. But it wasn't so long ago that the Icaria were better known for drawing blood than donating it. Back before the 50s, they had a fearsome reputation for cutthroat business practices that had their business rivals going so far as to accuse them of involvement with organized crime. After the founding of Renigen Medical over 25 years ago and its subsequent sale, the Icaria have moved out of the business world and into the upper echelons of society that are sometimes mockingly referred to as the Neobility, a generation of newly minted aristocrats born from the unique and chaotic economics of the mid-21st century and the Red Decade. I am very worried to find out what the Red Decade refers to. When asked her opinion on those who'd label her family House Icaria at the hospital's renaming ceremony, Renigen board member Mireille Icaria had this to say: "In this country, anyone can make a name for themselves so long as they're willing to put in the work. Mock new money all you want, but the truth is that success is all about reinventing yourself, and the only ones uncomfortable with that are We're working hard to print out the rest of your article, character by character. It's tough work, but we'd be able to go about it a lot faster if you'd leave a tip. Drop your payment info in the jar? No thank you." The Decade of Morgan. I mean, honestly, wouldn't shock me. The Icaria. Guess they weren't always in the same line of work. Now they're plastering their name wherever they get themselves a new image. All the Neobility are eager to prop up their image wherever they can. But that must go double for the Icarias. Assuming the truth about their criminal past is anywhere close to the rumors. She finishing up over there? Right, okay, so, what's up? Thanks for your time, Dr. Sato. My first question would be, what was the cause of death? Oh, wow. Hi there, cute android. I didn't even realize it was really cute. The skin is, that's remarkable. Even just looking close, you can tell they really are warm. I mean, that is a very cute reaction, Sarah. Like, Christ. And yeah, the comprehension quizzes is really nice to both make sure the player is engaging with the world building and also, like, helping, you know, get the gist of it without, like, going on for whole paragraphs at a time, you know. Nice pat on the head for reading, right? Still not quite human body temperature, but they've come a long way. The early gens all looked flushed, felt like they were always running a fever, and they ran like it too. Even 2 years ago, the average warm android only lasted... Sorry, but the circumstances surrounding this particular case call for expediency. Right. So, what can I tell you? Well, cause of death. Were you able to determine the cause of death? Oh, the cause of death? Sure, we got that much figured out at least. Why doesn't that sound particularly reassuring? Dr. Asher died of respiratory failure. Not enough oxygen in the blood, not enough blood going to the brain. Root cause being widespread depression of the central nervous system. What would the symptoms be? What would it have looked like? Lightheadedness followed by dizziness, then headaches, slurred speech, exhaustion, loss of consciousness, and finally respiratory arrest. Val Morgan was just cold as fuck about Sarah the whole first part of this, trying to turn off her personality and get it over with. Yes. And then just like, there's like, no, I'm not turning off. And she's just like, huh, that's different. Also, I did see the head pats cry, and thank you. I was in the middle of a Xbox. Report shows that the EMTs tried intubation, then resuscitation through electrical stimulation repeatedly. By the time he got to the emergency room, they were desperate enough to attempt direct artificial blood oxygenation, but it was too late. And you're certain of all this? Oh, well, most of it, sweetie. Most of it? Yeah, it's turned into quite the puzzle. And I'm used to having more pieces to start with. I was surprised that a man as rich and famous as him didn't have any kind of biomes, but his okay, what do they mean by biome? Oh, biomonitor, okay. But his files show wasn't a viable candidate for modding. Yeah, that's right. Without that kind of first-hand tech, we don't have nearly as much data as we'd like. But he was extensively monitored from the moment the EMTs arrived. We're very certain about our conclusion. Did you find anything else unusual about his body in your examination? Cuts or bruises? No injection sites? Nothing in any cavities? Nothing at all, huh? The police mentioned a tox screen. Yeah, that's the thing. They ran a tox screen when he first arrived, typical diagnostic intake procedure. Based on the emergency call, they figured he must have overdosed on something, but the tox screen gave them nothing. That's worrisome. After he died, we performed the broadest screenings possible. Nothing. So you were forced to conclude this was a natural death? I didn't give up that easy. I took blood samples and compared their makeup with what was on record in his previous medical history. And I managed to isolate a single non-naturally occurring chemical compound that wasn't there before. What was it? Some exotic toxin from a different hemisphere? I wish. And through every available database we have access to, and even a few I only sort of have access to through some friends, not only does it not match any known poison, it doesn't match the chemical makeup of any registered compound. So, a designer drug, huh? Seems to be the best explanation. What the hell did you do, David? You said it didn't match any registered compound. What about compounds that aren't registered? Those friends of yours, private sector folks? Out there that are all but untraceable, yep. Yeah, in pharmaceuticals. If one of them patented a new compound, a new drug, what would keep its formula from going on the record? Also, I do love that Sarah has just started mimicking Morgan's thinking pose. In the private sector, intellectual piracy is the norm, so you're expected to protect your research aggressively. Patent first, find a use later? A patent would have to at least describe your compound in brief, but depending on what country you file in... I've heard it may be considered prudent to keep the actual chemical makeup off the record. Smart. Using international IP laws, your own personal minefield. How so? Whenever you're ahead, patent as much as you can, as fast as you can, but bury the formula so no one knows where it's safe to walk. Anybody small and ambitious comes along, finds a new drug they're excited about. You flip up your card, let them know you came up with the idea years ago, and that you'll give them death by 1,000 court dates if they so much as blink. Wouldn't work on anyone your size or bigger, or they could punch back, but for the rest of the field... Thank you for the donation. Also, I keep forgetting I have that text-to-speech voice. Okay, one second. Let me update the counter here. There we go. It didn't come through. Oh, God. Fuck, I'm gonna have to... fuck. I heard the note, at least. I forgot I have separated out all of my audio sources. And... somebody fucking remind me to figure that out on Discord after the stream ends. Because, like... yes, thank you. Because, like, I'm actually not entirely sure how I would go about putting that on my audio mixer, now that I think about it. But I will figure it out. Anyway. Okay. Wow, you corporate lawyers are scary. I'm not a corporate lawyer. So you came up with that strategy just now? So it's possible that this poison is actually a known substance? Something that the hospital could have easily identified? If it wasn't considered a trade secret. You'll have to read it out to yourself to compensate. Okay, one second. Let me pull up Streamlabs. Log in with Twitch. I meant on Discord, Cry. I do appreciate the fucking $10 though. I'll knock that off. So, there we go. We are getting closer to fucking Omicron. I mean, you can't throw money at me on Discord, no, but... also, I'm just realizing that the chat box isn't showing all of the chat for some reason. Fucking weird. Anyway. Lune's comment was best dirtbag lesbian lawyer award all years. And yes, I absolutely agree. Alright, anyway, back to the game. Yes, unfortunately that is a possibility. Oh, I forgot to get my zoomed in chat back where I can see it. You're welcome. Cry! I'm not gonna read yours because yours was just the reminder to fix my TTS. I'm not reading that, you nerd.
Nice, nice. Very nice.
Yes, unfortunately, that is a possibility. Still, just because a drug is new doesn't mean it's original. Does the effect this compound had remind you of any other drug? Maybe one that's prescription only, or a controlled substance you might know by another, or one you might know by another name, but with a patented structure? Sorry, sweetheart, it's a general depressant. There are a lot of drugs that have that effect on the body. They come in all shapes and sizes from all kinds of places. If the effect was unremarkable, what about its strength? Alcohol is a depressant? It is. And she is a nerd. Everyone here is a nerd. Could you estimate how much of the stuff he had in his body, all told? Not precisely, no. Not without detailed knowledge on its half-life. But I'd guess that it must have been about 20 milligrams. Is 20 milligrams a lot? Not for a medicine, so this wasn't just an overdose of something relatively harmless then. No, not if 20 mil was enough to crash his entire nervous system. Thank you, Yumi. Of course. So, you ready to view the body? We could skip it if you want. I know most people get squeamish around corpses. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay then, let's get started. Alright, I'll just step out for a moment to give you some privacy. Monogatari cuttings, no big brain, yup. Also, this music? Hell yeah. This is a good vibe, holy shit. Hey, I'm sorry, I need to advance the text. Yes, please, thank you. The last time we talked was on a Sunday. You were complaining. I remember that. It's the principle of the matter. Right. You had ordered this cheap piece of shit sculpture or something by mistake. And it came damaged and you wanted to send it back for a refund. I gently reminded you how, with your salary, it was literally not worth your time. And I kindly offered to throw it out for you, since you're having so much trouble letting go. You're only offering because you want to see how loud it sounds shattering at the bottom of my trash can. I denied it, even though you were right, and it was obvious. I should have let you have that one. I thought that he would look different. He looks exactly the same as I remember. His skin is pale and he's very still. But his face is the same. Hands, hair. Okay. I feel like that is the best illustration that I'm fucking dyslexic. Ernest's expressions are so good. I mean, you're not alone in that, Looney. I'm right there with you. I get it. You were expecting something more drastic? Last time I saw him, he was alive. Smiled and he told me he would see me soon. Now he's dead. Thing is gone. And I can't find the difference. Dyslexia is a struggle. Also, yes. I feel that in my soul, Matt. I'm trying to look harder. I think I might just not be capable of it. I wonder why. Why I was created to not be capable. Could be an issue of skill. Wow. Morgan really just pulled the skill issue card. Okay. Okay. Or maybe it's not something that can be seen, no matter how hard you look. But it's there. I guarantee it. I've seen the transition enough times to be sure that between life and death, the distinction has significance. To the dead, at the very least. They're going to smoke? Here? Now? I'll pay the fine. I love when her eyes go dark, right? That's not the issue. Were you expecting me to fall to pieces? Real boys grieve in all kinds of ways, Pinocchio. And some don't grieve at all, it seems. I'm a cold woman, sorry to disappoint. Hell? The hell won't this thing light? Adonai? Have your cigarette backwards. I mean, it's a future high-tech morgue. It's fine. And yeah, just... I love that she tries to act all tough and everything, but, like, very clearly this has rattled Morgan. Alright, that's back into cold storage for him, so... Need anything else? Can you send me the chemical makeup of that compound you isolated? Sure, for what it's worth. Let me just... Got carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen with hexagonal structures. So it's organic, but there's a number of metallic elements too. And if you had to speculate on its intended use, based on what we know of its structure, well, it certainly acted like a depressant, binding to receptor pathways and affecting the balance of neurotransmitter reuptake. Depressants are pretty rare in the designer drug scene. True, people are always looking for a higher high or a crazier trip, but a more powerful depressant will just make you fall asleep. Not much need to head up the gray market for that kind of experience. Structure looks familiar, but I can't place it right. No, there's not. 1/5 black cherry Faygo. God damn it. I see. Thanks again. You've been extremely helpful during a very difficult time. Hey, anything you need, give me a ring. That's very generous. Rockford's orders have got me on call, so I'm already getting overtime the whole weekend. Glad to hear it. Goodbye, Yumi. Goodbye to you, Greenie. My name is Sarah. Nice to meet you, Sarah. The Kerplunk animation is great, yeah. Up on ramps and down off ramps, above skywalks, then under tram lines. The buildings get progressively more polished as we head into the most economically developed part of the city. Corporate territory, national headquarters for the likes of Howe Industries, Lockcoon, Hethys, Ninth. That was a weird, like, was that Ninth Dash? Or just like, she, like, interrupted her own train of thought or something. Each of them sheltering their own micro-city of employee accommodations beneath their skyscraper shadows. Whalefall, the entirety of the ocean floor coming together to feast and grow and live. live off the fetid, rotting fat of the leviathans that swallow generations of people by the mouthful. Weight is commonly listed, and my weight is... Do I really have to disclose that? Noble lays claim to one of the largest shadows in the city, a towering nerve center for the whole nation's android industry. It's meant to be intimidating, I'm sure, but today I'm glad that Noble keeps such a sizable physical presence here. I need answers about David and his work on Sarah. Answers I'd never get browsing the company website or speaking to a representative. Synopsis. Relationships. There are typically trivia sections as well. Should I start there? Noble will have their guard up, of course, but even that will tell me something. Where they let me walk, who they let me talk to. History. Their efforts at performative transparency and clumsy obfuscation will. How did you know my father? What? I'm sorry, did I interrupt your brooding? I'm okay. Now I'm just imagining like Batman on top of a gothic skyscraper doing his, I am the night bullshit, and then Robin just comes over with a newspaper in his hand like, weird crossword today. Anyway, what are you doing, Bruce? No, what did you ask? My father, I know you were his friend. But what was your relationship like? Can't you just scroll through our socials? Father avoided social media. And your online presence is not significant. You saying I don't have enough followers? Essentially. We went to the same college. The 7-letter word for puzzling question asker. You studied programming? No, I studied all kinds of different things as an undergrad, but not technology. Is that a good way to prepare for law school? I wasn't preparing for law school. Or anything else, really. David, though, he had a talent, and he knew he wanted to do something with it. He studied programming, robotics, discrete math, cybernetics. What classes did you share then? Business ethics. Okay. I was the second best student in the class, and he was the first. He was the one who asked the most questions. Not sure about his actual ranking. He found the course challenging, and I clearly didn't, despite being younger. Guess he felt burned. Okay. I kind of love that Morgan found the ethics part very easy, while the actual corporate, cybernetics guy is like, how the fuck do I comprehend any of this? Like, that's a nice little bit of realistic world building sort of thing. He'd come up to me after class to argue and sometimes to ask for help. Father always talked about socializing like it was a chore. It was kind of you to give him a chance. What, like I was some kind of social butterfly? The belle of the ball? You aren't? One Sunday night, he knocked on my door all panicked, saying he was in bad shape for his tech course. There was a midterm or something the next day. I couldn't make heads or tails of the material, but I did my best to at least quiz him. He wasn't satisfied, though, wanted to cram the rest of the night. Father had to cram for an undergraduate midterm? Did I say something scandalous? He's been called the founder of modern programming. Yeah, well, even founder types can have poor time management when they're 21. He was already fried by that point. Wasn't hard to tell what he was really asking for. So I went and stole a study aid for him. You stole a controlled substance just to help him with studying? No, that'd be insane. No, I just pocketed some breath mints from the common room. Told him to pinch his nose and swallow fast because the taste is so strong. You gave him a placebo. He already knew the content as good as he ever would. What he needed was to sleep. He could barely keep his eyes open by the time I got back from my daring heist. Didn't take much convincing for him to rest his eyes just until it kicked in. And the test? B+, I think. I'm surprised that Father stayed close with you after that. You stole and lied to him. I stole and lied for him. Aging Rose into chat. Yeah, like, I'm honest. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, I have a degree in social work, which is not quite psychology or psychiatry or whatever. It's still in the mental health field, and I have spent more time than I care to admit reading the DMV. So, oh god, no. Bachelor degree, not doctorate. God, no. Like, Rosa's the one that went for a doctorate, not me. I know you were joking. That said, like, I'm genuinely not sure what you would say Morgan's diagnosis would be. Because, like, she's not quite dissociative identity disorder. She isn't, like, just from my guesses, I would say either antisocial personality disorder, which is a really, really hard diagnosis to get in general anyway, because, like, personality disorders in general just don't get diagnosed much at all. Or maybe bipolar. But, like, even bipolar, I feel like, is a reach. But, like, even with the way Morgan is presented in this game, it's really hard to really, like, get a feel for what exactly she feels. Like, what emotions are really there. Because she's got too good of a poker face. Which is wild to me. Also, I saw that game. I saw you teleport the car back to the start of the scrolling bit. And David understood that. He was good at understanding things without me having to spell them out. But I guess that's not the kind of thing that gets passed down through programming. I don't really see how Morgan functions outside of these high-stakes situations either. Yup. There's a lot of more light on how she functions and processes. Good. I will definitely be looking for that. Anyway, we kept in touch after that. First year of grad school, he published this paper, The Turing Solution, a framework for programming adaptive linguistics heuristics. One of his advisors came up with that title. David thought it was way too cocky, but it still hasn't failed any known Turing test in the years since. Don't act like you're the one who deserves credit for it. He called me one weekend asking for advice on how to handle all the attention. Job offers, interviews, apprenticeships, invitations to immigrate.
What did you tell him?
I don't remember telling him anything, actually. A lot of our conversations went like that. He would talk to me about whatever personal or professional problem was stuck in his head that day, and I would nod while he wore himself out. And at the end of the conversation, he'd thank me, even though I hadn't offered a single word of advice. He took Noble's offer, and they took over his education, paid him to work on his master's during the day and attend corporate training at night. And whatever else Noble may be, they were smart enough to start listening to him early. You are referring to his one-point doctrine. Quality over quantity.
Simple and elegant, just like his code.
Simple and elegant, but anathema to a global corporation with supply chains designed for maximum capacity and just-in-time manufacturing. But obviously, they got over their distaste fast enough. In the span of a few years, Noble's gone from making manual labor ads for meager profit to being the world leader in intelligence as a service. Even as he was making money hand over fist, he still kept in contact with a nobody like me. I moved to the city for my apprenticeship. He helped me put a down payment on my apartment, then made up excuses as to why he couldn't help me move boxes. Intelligence as a service is such an evil phrase. Yup. So, is that enough detail for you? Thoroughly convinced that he and I were, in fact, friends?
I am.
But, Adonai, the favor that you owe him, what was it for? That's private, understand? I have zero interest in talking about it with you. Say you understand.
I understand, Adonai. It will be arriving shortly. Shall I send word ahead?
Just tell them that David's lawyer is here. Also, God, anytime the killer does come out, like, she is scary. Like, the way she just, like, the way her mood pivots on a dime. Oh, I love it. I've been here before. Sat right here in this lobby, waiting for David to come treat me to lunch. At least I think it was this lobby. Could have been some other floor, could have been an entirely different building. All these corporate towers of Babel feel like interchangeable fractals to me, folding in on themselves in patterns of narcissistic paranoia. So monumental in the scale of their hubris, they needed to use non-Euclidean geometry when drawing up the blueprints. The greatest minds of each generation coming together just to find the most expensive way to shove their heads up their asses. I love these narrations so much.
Adonai, is something bothering you?
Just doing the math on how long we'll be kept waiting here. Apparently someone will be here shortly. So maybe if I pass the time by glaring around the place, it'll improve my mood. They changed the logo again.
Noble Electronics.
How's it feel stepping in here? Is this some kind of religious experience for you?
It's just the corporation where my father worked.
Careful now, or they'll burn you for heresy against the company.
You said it again. The company, as if it's a proper noun. You're mimicking the employees, aren't you?
So it can't obey simple orders, but it can pick up on that?
Is it just a part of corporate...
Blah, blah, blah. God, dyslexia and allergies combined are a fucking challenge. Let me take a drink real quick.
Is it just a part of the corporate culture?
Noble's one of the biggest corporations there is.
One of the biggest there's ever been. We mere humans can't hope to escape the gravity of anything that size, no matter where you live or how far off the grid you think you are. I think he wants something, probably. Don't know what. I doubt he knows what. But he is a good boy, yes. So imagine what it's like working for them. You live in company dorms, work in company quarters. Wherever you go, that logo's above your head. You eat, sleep, and breathe on Noble's timetable at its discretion. When you spend your whole life inside of it, Noble must feel big enough to be the only company there is. To think this is only one room. Excuse me. I swallowed wrong right there. Okay. This complex is so massive that it doesn't even feel man-made. It's like it was carved out of the rock by waves, like it's always been here. That's the con. If this place was actually natural, there'd be birds everywhere. I hadn't considered that. Why aren't there birds in here? Probably because of what they do to the ones that get in. I'm kidding. Though I don't have a better explanation. So much energy, so many people, also intent. You kidding? It's Saturday, the place is half empty. But doesn't everyone work on Saturdays? All the parents do, so they don't need to find childcare on Sunday. Everyone else flips a coin, I guess. All these people for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. What could they all possibly be doing? Making work for themselves? You can be very cynical, can't you? Yeah, I'm terrible. But that guy over there's just been jiggling his cursor for the last 20 seconds. Whoever comes to greet us better have a pulse and some goddamn authority. My mood's starting to sour, and if they just send me the first link in their infinite chain of corporate bureaucracy, I'll make them wish. Oregon? Oh, that's a guy. Oregon? That's me? Hey there. Android Manufacturing Quality Control, Eastern Division. Evan Dawes? Evan Dawes, he says, like it's an afterthought. What's a name compared to your place in the hierarchy? Also, I'm noticing he has segmented fingers. Here comes a tired boy. Yup. You seem familiar. Have you... I'm David's lawyer. Oh, then we must have... Apologies. Let me first just say how sorry I am about his passing. You and everyone else at the company must be going through a lot right now. As if it's a proper noun. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. You're welcome, but it's no big deal. Everyone's on the razor today, but what else is new? And compared to the PR or legal right now, our workloads in QA are... Never mind. How can I assist you? Oh, she shifts gears into pouring down thick, right? Shortly before his passing, Dr. Asher began the process of registering this android. Yes, that is correct. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the job. Look at that. It's definitely custom. Gee, you think? Good thing I sought out an expert. Or, goes without saying. Reminds me of the A16 Premiere, if anything. Barcode is clearly printed, no visible defects.
But you're right, it doesn't correspond to anything we've got on file. Well, they sent you to the right man for the job. Now we just need to go to the right place.
Not far, I hope?
It's in the building. In the building. That could mean anything from down the hall to a half-day's hike. The production line on B9 should have everything we need.
Do manufacturing inside your corporate headquarters?
B9's a fully functional production floor, but it was only built for demonstrative purposes. New clients make deals upstairs about how many and in what shape or size. They come down to the basement to see how the sausage is made. They have enough money to build a fake factory just for guests.
Smart. So long as you're only giving tours and not giving away company secrets.
No need to worry about that. We take intellectual security very seriously around here.
No kidding.
No kidding. There are 11 cameras on us at the moment that I can see. And who knows how many pairs of modded eyes are aimed our way. Clearly nothing happens in here without the almighty company knowing about it. So if they try to claim ignorance about anything, it's gonna piss me off. Intellectual security is such a fucking farce of a term, right?
Lead the way. It really is fully furnished down here. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's pretty rare to get to see all this in person, you know? Also, I forgot to check, but I'm gonna have to go back through the VOD and just see how long it actually took them to walk down here. Because, like, it's got the timestamps and everything for all the scene transitions. Would you mind terribly if I looked around for a moment?
No problem. I've got some prelim paperwork I need to handle anyway, so have at it. 0.5 femtoseconds. I better take full advantage. I'll need more than cursory knowledge if I want to figure out where Sarah came from and why David wanted me to take custody.
I'm going to look around. You stay put in the meantime. Adonai? Wouldn't want to lose you among the rest of the merchandise.
Okay.
What's being built out there?
Our top of the line brand new bestsellers, the Animate 16, warm.
Looks kind of cold out there.
We keep the factory floor refrigerated. Slows the organics already tuned metabolic activity to a minimum. That explains why the room doesn't smell like rotting flesh. The flesh out there is only somewhat rotting. Slowly.
I just meant I'm surprised to see metal.
Oh, well, all the A16s have alloy endoskeletons. The organics that are layered on later in the process. Sounds like what Sarah told me about herself. Maybe she really was the A16's prototype. But it's hard to imagine bridging the gap between her and these scattered doll parts.
I get that you can just grow, that you can grow just about anything from wax Gemini. But how do you get the synthetic and the organic to work together?
Yeah, that was our first concern when R&D began work on the warm concept. The 1.0s were real skin with synthetic muscle. It was a horror show. Metal pulling on skin was just...
Right.
For 2.0, they worked backwards. Organic muscles, organic skin. But digital signals on organic hardware was a dead end.
Didn't the muscles flex when you passed... didn't the muscles flex when you passed an electric current through them?
Jesus Christ, what is wrong with my reading? Blech. They'd flex and unflex, sure, but that's not nearly precise enough for facial expressions. Looks like puppets strung up on live wires. We used test footage to haze interns, actually.
You must have figured something out. The A-16 wouldn't look out of place on the runway.
Thank you. We try. We ended up reaching out to mod companies. Well, we actually just bought out a half dozen of them, but
Right.
they figured out how to get human nervous systems moving mechanical limbs decades ago. So we just needed to get a mechanical nervous system to move living limbs. Very clumsy to attempt to avoid using the word human. High precision mods are slotted straight into the nervous system. They receive their input from neurotransmitters, not bioelectricity.
So you had to do the opposite?
Exactly. We created a synthetic neurotransmitter that our androids could use to communicate with organic flesh.
Where did that breakthrough come from, Dr. Asher?
Partly. He led the team that built the motor neurons in this analogy. Blech. They carry commands from central nervous OS to individual muscles across the chassis. But the serotonin, that's a hell of a name. Sorry, the synthetic analog serotonin. That was actually an old brainchild from the VP of Android Futures, Helen Young. Young. Hasn't David mentioned a Dr. Young before?
Sounds impressive.
She's one hell of a biochemist. Or she was, I guess. Not much time for individual lab work when you get to her kind of pay grade. So Young collaborated with David on the technology that enabled warm androids. As I thought, whatever went into Sarah that makes the android so distinct, he couldn't have taken sole credit for it. Young, did he partner with her on this? An inhaler out on the desk. Probably a half dozen empty ones in one of the drawers.
Dawes, the inhalers, they're distributed by the company, correct?
Oh yeah, HR handles it. They personalize your dosage and prescriptions and update it based on performance and your job fulfillment reviews.
Other corporations do it the same way?
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's trying to keep pace with each other, so can't have your employees losing focus on the job. Could cost you. Who knows how much in lost efficiency.
Sorry if this is insensitive, but given what happened to David, are overdoses common in the company?
Yeah. Yeah, he says. Overdoses, that is, not hospitalizations or deaths. It's all pretty organized these days.
These days?
Man, back when I started in consulting, pretty much everyone had an embarrassing story from their first 2 years where they popped a few too many greens and missed the on-ramp.
Popped greens?
It used to be pills. Green to get you going, yellow to keep you there, swallow red after brushing your teeth to get into your bunk fast. But yeah, the inhalers are a huge improvement, like going from torches to the light bulb. They sync straight to your personal biomes and adjust dosage in real time. Overdoses are way down. Wasn't Dr. Young the person David was drinking with when he oopsied? I don't know. Because, like, the only other person that is a witness to all this is powerful enough that they had their names redacted. So. Oh, right, I already did that line.
That's great to hear.
The trainees under me don't realize how good they've got it. Kids probably won't even have to learn how to purge.
Yeah, I know, right?
It seems to share some components with that coffin Sarah was napping in. If DAWS does quality assurance, is it some kind of Android calibration device? It's probably what he'll use to register Sarah. Looks a little... Is Sarah tall enough for it to recognize her? So, Sarah is small, got it. There's something out there that caught my eye when we came in. A very familiar shade of crimson. I squint through the glass on the floor there, I squint through the glass. Out on the floor, there are temperature-controlled fluid tanks. Through glass and plastic flows an eye-catching scarlet that transitions into...
So you add the blood towards the end?
Mean the oxidant? Yeah, relatively late in the process. Got that Danganronpa pink blood, right? Something out of place? Androids have blood, even if it's not officially labeled as such. But it isn't red, it's pink. Sometimes milky, sometimes neon, occasionally garish, but pink.
I just didn't think the oxidant would be red.
Oh, right. Sorry. I barely noticed it at this point. The color's natural, comes from the biomanufacturing process. That chromofuge out there removes the byproducts, the waste, the excess pigment, changing it from blood red to psychopop pink. Without the chromofuge, our android's flesh would come out looking all the wrong colors. That may be true. It probably isn't, but it may be. But I have a simpler explanation. Blood is primal. The sight of it carries weight. They change the color of their product's blood so that when an android gets a bottle broken against its face, no one bats an eye. Feels like I've seen this before. That's right. There was one in David's lab. That's a nanograde elementary manufacturer. Nanofacturer for short. Real high quality piece of machinery. Each of them built in-house by Randock Mechanics.
What does it do?
Nano-level flash fab. Method of manufacturing artificial microscopic compounds that utilizes a parallel nesting to assemble billions of simple structures in minutes or even seconds. Okay, flash fabrication. Got it. Basically a 3D printer for nanomachines, son.
You build nanomachines in your factories for use in your androids?
The raw materials are cheap, literally elementary, so no sense in getting them shipped in. It's mostly the medical models that make use of them. Inject a couple thousand nanites into a patient's bloodstream, run diagnostics, provide a solution.
A 3D printer for nanomachines. What kind of ink does it use?
Silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, building blocks. They feed into the nanoprinter and it assembles the machines particle by particle. Like a ribosome building structurally complex proteins out of chemically simple nucleic acids.
Must be time consuming.
You would think, but Randock cracked the code on parallel microfacturing. The inside's crystalline, sprawling like an ant's nest. Raw materials enter at one point of the thousands of different entry points, combining and recombining at intersections. The finished product ends up at the center and drips out in a liquid solution. Distilled nectar swimming in millions of nanites in just 2 minutes. Also, hi, Hime.
Nectar? It's sticky?
It can be, depending on the desired output, but the door vacuum seals while it's cooking, so don't worry. It's completely spill-proof. What a relief. Not exactly a box of paper clips David could just have brought home from the office one day. He must have bought his own, for some reason. What have we got on this data pad? some kind of write-up. On the subject of Sullivan's Peak. Much of our world today, and in fact much of our world's economy, is heavily influenced by the uncanny valley. The thought experiment provides a simple and easily applied explanation for the gaps we see in the otherwise wide spectrum of automated dependence that assist us in nearly every industry on the planet. There's a very simple primal truth to it. We like things that resemble the living, like cartoons and puppets and toys. And we like things that are damn near indistinguishable from the living, like whatever name Noble's latest products are being sold under. But there are deep, deep trenches between those two ends, where products are universally appealing to human sensibility. The Uncanny Valley will no doubt remain a useful tool for teaching, marketing, and design for generations to come, but already we are seeing ways in which it fails. It is becoming increasingly clear to us that the space between nearly indistinguishable and truly indistinguishable is much wider than we ever suspected, and it may not be the only part of the map that we must fear. I propose we bridge those gaps in knowledge by looking to the speculative fiction of Robert J. Sullivan, who in his most well-known work, Equal Under One Sky, described the concept which thereafter has been called Sullivan's Peak. Through the lens of his characters and their so very divided world, Sullivan demonstrated that the Uncanny Valley does in fact have its own peak on the other side, a point past which making an artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make the user experience more uncomfortable, more difficult, and more fraught with moral pitfalls. Once you reach Sullivan's Peak, traveling any further only has diminishing returns. The implications of this idea are far-reaching. We will very soon reach a point at which designers of ads can only make their creations less lifelike or less likable, a hard stopping point for technological process. What then, we must ask? Oh, looks like you forgot to sign in to this device. Drop your thumbprint below and we'll get you squared away so you can keep reading. Always know a working Joe. Yeah. It doesn't take into account monster fuckers and xenofuckers and necrophiles. I mean, okay. So, I feel like Sullivan's Peak as a concept is the area in which Yoko Taro has staked his claim. Because, like, the androids and replicants in Nier are indistinguishable from humans. To the point that they are basically the new humans. And yet, because they aren't, they have so much more emotional baggage for the player, at least, and ethical quandaries. Like, what do you do when a body that was made specifically to house a specific soul develops its own soul and makes the original soul uncomfortable to be in? Like, I know they couldn't just fucking name drop Nier in here because, like, that would require getting, like, clearance from Square and shit. But that's exactly where my head went. It goes well, Hime. Hope things are going well for you too. Surprised to find reading material like that around here. Were they passing it around as a gag? Or are they actually afraid of Sullivan's Peak around here? Noble must be... I'm going to say wary of it because, like, that does, like, make sense. And if it gets to a point where, you know, you have, like, Blade Runner-ass replicants walking around being able to, like, legitimately just integrate with society in ways that are very invisible to the naked eye, that would make a lot of people very anxious about their products, and thus, like, not want to deal with that. So, you know, that's, again, I'm looking at the blood and everything and why it's pink instead of red. But, I mean, okay, look. Literal murder machine Big Cat exists. Humans. Oh, what a sweet kitty. I mean, yes, but that's cat-shaped, not human-shaped. What if people develop more compassion for non-humans than humans, like hardcore animal rights activists? That has its own can of worms. And I'm not saying the people that, you know, develop that compassion are necessarily wrong. At the same time, that becomes a, what does it mean to be human, and what rights and ethics does being a human carry with it, sort of thing. Anyway, so yeah, I would definitely think a company like Noble would be very wary of it at the very least. If the peak does exist, they'll be coming up on it fast now that androids are warm. Noble's entire product line, maybe their entire industry, could go bottoms up if people start to think it's cruel. If Sarah's any indication of where their androids are headed, I could see some people getting uncomfortable. All done? You ready to get the ad handled?
Thanks for humoring me.
Can you have it step into the scanner?
As he says. Understood.
Right then, what are we looking at here? Whoa. There's a lot to unpack here.
We theorized that it may have been Asher's pincushion.
A pincushion, huh? That would explain some of what I'm reading here.
What language is that on the screen?
Tess. You know, Tesseract, all Noble products, and, well, pretty much all products, period, are programmed in Tess. Easy to read and write, stay compliant. Now this model, what's it go by?
Sarah.
This Sarah model. It's got everything the 16th line has, that's for sure. Organic skin, hybrid muscles, advanced facial processing and emoting. But there's a lot crammed in here that's still in development. Like the idea phases. Like in the idea phases. Solar cell hair strands, decentralized redundant power, mental and physical overclocking with extended tolerances. Data storage is so large I can't. No, wow. He had to measure it using. Hell of a poker face. I love that she just, like, starts grinning from ear to ear as soon as the guy's like, wow, she's so big-brained. Wait, decryption and signal hijacking? That's hacking? Essentially.
Does it mean that it could hack its own tenants?
Oh, no, that's unthinkable. Literally, for an ad. For an ad to break its tenants would be like you stepping into traffic or dropping a baby. Even if you're physically capable of it, it's not something you would ever choose to do.
Some people do walk into traffic.
Psychotics, addicts, the mentally ill. Does that mean there are androids? Well, no, there aren't crazy androids. So, yeah. I guess my analogy doesn't hold up.
That's okay.
You don't know Morgan very well, do he? He don't.
So it can't hack itself, but it was given the ability to hack other systems?
The industry line is that such a capability could be an option in certain emergency scenarios. Breaking through firewalls and encryption of surrounding electronics to broadcast directly to police or military channels. Speaking of military, this muscular skeletal setup is fantastic. I've never seen this on a consumer model.
Can you lift a car or something, Sarah? Most cars. It would depend on the center of gravity.
I like that Morgan's like, or trying to tease her, like, can you pick up a car? And she's like, yeah, probably. Like, oh. Lady, this Sarah could wrestle a public disturbance walker and walk out, and come out on top. Okay, so I'm guessing the public disturbance walker is basically an ED-109 from RoboCop. No stomping behemoths they bring out for riot suppression. And in terms of computational ability, the estimate says that can't be right.
Look, Dawes? I was actually hoping you could tell me something about the software or the metadata. Who worked on it and when?
Right, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. The editing logs have been purged. Imagine the MGS sound whenever I see the ... exclamation. Yeah, pretty much. That doesn't sound very above the board. Sorry, I can't tell you anything about who worked on Sarah or when.
Any chance you can restore those logs?
Not here, not with this machine. I'd need the computers that were actually used for the programming of this model. Any ideas where those would be?
Sarah? I cannot answer that question with any accuracy. I had a feeling you might say that.
That's right. Sorry, I can tell you the code is unique. There's hints of the A16 in there, a few of the same conclusions, it's just Dr. Asher or whoever took very different paths to get there. So Sarah has even less in common with every other android on the inside. Sorry, didn't expect to hit a dead end there.
Not at all, you've been very helpful. Can we still get the registration done?
Yeah, no problem. We've got the software and forms all set up here. Occasionally, we let a few business partners bring one home fresh from the oven, you know? Oven? Gross. Alright, a few basic questions then. Who's going to be the official owner of this unit?
She is. As it says, unless the will disagrees, it's my responsibility.
Right then. You fine with the designation, Sarah? We can set it to anything you like.
Well, actually...
The pouty face. The pouty face is too strong.
Never mind. Sarah will do fine.
Okay. This part's all standard. Bomb cheeks. Civilian model, address, contact info I can get from your crumbs. You want to reset to factory defaults? Could clear up a lot of quirks.
Not right now.
The last thing then is the grading. I'm reading 23 tenants here, nothing too far out of the ordinary.
23? That's higher than I expected talking with it.
He seemed more malleable than that. Don't blame yourself. Guessing tenant count from outward appearance has become a crapshoot. Not like it used to be. Used to be they only had 3 tenants total. Every unit had to have them. Then came the first accidents and the first lawsuits. Then the hearings and the legislature.
And the demand for more tenants.
A tenant making sure ads couldn't endanger the state. A tenant stating that ads wouldn't divulge private information without prior consent. There was a campaign calling for a tenant to weigh child and adult lives equally during risk assessment. There was a campaign calling for a tenant to do the opposite. Companies wanted their asses covered, customers wanted guarantees. There was never much incentive to deny a request of tenants, so the list just ballooned. Until the military entered the market in full force.
You sound like you don't approve.
I wouldn't go that far. They needed their ads to be able to pull the trigger when ordered to. without clearing 5,000 lines of bloated, hard-coded decision points to get there. I get that. But since the armies are the only one using tech with bare minimum tenets, all the best, least cluttered, most elegant code is used only for war games. Not very romantic. Well, not like I was on the jury. Department of Advanced Defense Projects v Zenith Dynamics. Supreme Court sided with the military's request and set a new precedent that every other army around the world would race to meet. Changing tenants from a mandated list at the root of every ad's source code to a choose-your-own checklist. It's funny. Ads with the most tenants, they're so locked up you can't even have a conversation with them. And outside the armed forces, the only ads with single-digit tenant counts are just vacuuming floors. Most impressive ones are like what you've got here, well, somewhere in the middle. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Only thing left is the evaluation.
What gets evaluated?
Total financial worth for insurance purposes. Yeah, the insurance companies made sure we had every accurate algorithm, or very accurate algorithms for this. No room for human error, they insisted, with no sense of irony. Wow. I mean, I knew it was custom, but what price could they have possibly?
That's a lot of digits.
You know, these formulae are pretty conservative with their estimates. Stingy, even. If Sarah's really David's last and greatest work, they say some things are priceless. But when you force an insurance algorithm to pick a number, try not to get any scratches on it, I guess.
You spoke differently back there. With Dawes, you spoke like he did, it seemed. Like I copied his accent? You seemed to mirror his affect, his tone. It's called being friendly. What's your point? It was just an observation. You can choose to keep those to yourself, you know. No tenant required. Why were you so concerned about registering me in the first place, Adonai? For the same reason I wouldn't drive around in a car without a license plate? Any cop or even just a well-placed camera could have spotted your barcode and seen that it wasn't set up with any actual data. And then they would have arrested me, and then they would have thrown me in the slammer. No, they would have arrested me and put you in an evidence locker. An android can't get arrested? People get arrested. Property gets seized.
What the fuck was that for, Rosa? Also, I need a break to lubricate my throat. Also, hi, Rosa. What? What's the ... for? Like, come on. I'm just lubricating my throat. Come on. Get with the, What? What's wrong, Rosa? What do you not like about that? And then smashed.
Great. You put us over the weight limit. I did no such. Morgan Counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Who's asking? Vice President of Android Futures, Helen Young.
Shouldn't have assumed I still have the opening move.
Tell her I'll be right up. I'll redirect your elevator now. Taking control of your elevator is very convenient, forceful, as if Noble is trying to directly steer your investigation. If Noble wanted to shut me down, they wouldn't bother to be subtle. I suppose they could simply refuse to cooperate.
Or just let the elevator drop. And yeah, just... Also, Rosa hasn't seen episode 0. And that is something I am going to inflict on Rosa at some point. So, for the moment, we're just gonna ignore episode 0 exists. Huh. Why is everyone hot in this game? Like, come on. Right. Speaking first is a sign of weakness, is it? And here I thought I could avoid wading into the swamp of corporate pretend power dynamics. I mean, we could just stand here in utter silence. Global warming, goddammit. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna just let her stew. Fuck it. Silence is only awkward if you care. I can ignore social cues all day long. I always liked this time of day. Not too muggy for you? No, I never liked clear blue sky. It always seemed cold to me. You're in luck. The sky gets more colorful every year as the air quality drops. Childish, isn't it? Marveling at the small sheen of rainbow dancing on the surface of a massive oil spill. Apologies for waxing poetic. It's been a very unusual 24 hours around here. Dr. Young. Just Miss is fine. Miss Young, I get the feeling you didn't bring me up here to talk about the weather. No, I brought you up here to express my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you, though I could say the same. I know you and David worked together for many years. Yes, we did. But as much as I'd like to just drop everything and process, the company wheels don't stop spinning for anything. Or anyone. Was Dawes of any help? She sent him. Trying to be helpful or just trying to control the narrative? It was great. But that must mean you know why I'm here. I don't want to make assumptions. No need, I'll be explicit. I'm here as an officer of the court, which means I'm bound by law to document every rock I turn over. And every person I speak to. Yes, the lawyers made that all very clear. Lawyers? You have an android. Not one of ours. You can tell that quickly? Got all the faces memorized? It's easy enough to remember the major archetypes we use, yes? If you're nuts about your work, maybe. It's a recent acquisition. Very recent, in fact. One of David's last requests, apparently. David asked you to take it. I've been told that you've been to David's estate already. The police gave me full access to the scene. Then you know that he wasn't alone last night. Yes, there was a single witness who met with him and called emergency services when he fainted. I was that witness. Really? Obviously. There aren't that many people David would bother meeting with in person. Let alone welcoming them into his home and offering them a drink. I also knew that Young is his superior on paper, if not in fame. And I knew that the witness had Executive Plan 3 insurance, so they had to be higher up than David. Well then, do your lawyers know we're having this conversation? Of course. They're pulling their hair out about this as we speak. I can't imagine why. The police cleared you. And you were well within your rights to ask for some privacy given the high-profile nature of all that's happened. So why call me up here? Why cut through all the red tape your lawyers painstakingly hid you behind? Eventually, you or some clever lawyer like you will get the record opened. Through legal means or otherwise. The company's enemies are legion, and they have a prying knife for every occasion. Still, that would have taken time. Time you could use to get ahead of what could be the biggest PR hurdle Noble's ever seen. Touché. And? So perhaps the truth of the matter is that I simply didn't want to hide. David was my colleague for several years. If I were in your shoes, I would have questions as well. You're doing this for my sake. No, my reasons are purely selfish. I'm only hoping that talking to someone whose job isn't to defend me from all consequences might prove therapeutic. If she wants to play confessional, that's fine by me. But is that really all that's going on here? Why don't you start from the beginning, then? You went to his home last night? Yes, at around 7:30 p.m. The building's penumbra captured all of that quite clearly. He fell ill around 8 p.m., so you spent half an hour together. Why the late call in person? We had an intense discussion yesterday afternoon. David never came in on Saturdays, and I didn't want to spend the weekend glaring at him through screens, so I visited, and he let me in, and we talked. About the good old days, if you can believe that. Back when we were both new to the company, eager to make a name for ourselves. How long ago was that? 7 or 8 years ago. Miss Young? Putting a number on it, it doesn't sound that long ago, but it feels... We spent a while like that, just talking. He was lively and sharp, and I never would have thought that a few minutes later that he would be dead. That he would commit suicide in front of me. A firm reply. What happened? 8:15, he said he wanted to toast. He got up, walked into his workshop, and then he must have went down into his basement to get us a bottle. I checked some messages in the meantime, enjoyed the view. In other words, she stayed on camera. He came back with a bottle of whiskey and 2 plastic cups. We drank and talked. He got quieter, spoke less. I thought he was just getting drunk. I didn't get worried until he started to fall asleep. You tried to wake him? He wasn't responding. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't seem... I left him and ran to the kitchen to use the security system. Didn't think to use your phone? No. I suppose I didn't. But it worked out. The Penumbra's emergency protocol summoned a VTOL straight to his helipad with 1 button press. When I returned to the parlor, he was limp. Yeah, like just discussing the exact details of a guy dying in front of basically what amounts to his daughter is intense. I moved him to the floor as delicately as I could. He had a heartbeat, but I just did what I could until they arrived. And you went with them to the hospital, I take it? Yes, they insisted. They checked my vitals and ran a tox screen, which came back clean. So did David's, for all the good it did him. I wasn't paying close attention to what they were saying at that point. But I'm sure they ran through every step of the CCC SOP. That's what they're paid to do.
You seem certain that it was suicide.
Yes.
Why?
As I said, he got quieter as time passed and he spoke less. The last thing he said to me, the last clear thing he said, that he was happy ending it here, that he was content. And he downed his glass after that. He drank every last drop. Does that sound like David Asher to you? Furious, restless, perfectionist David?
No, I guess it doesn't.
Alright, CCE, what do you mean by that?
You said CCE Standard Operating Procedure a moment ago. What is that?
CCE stands for Counter Corporate Espionage, which is just industry doublespeak for corporate espionage. Only used in self-defense, you understand. Clown college education.
So Noble anticipates employees at your level getting poisoned?
They give us all kinds of CCE training. Totally, of course. Usually disguised on the itinerary as leadership workshops, or psychiatric evaluations.
They train you to expect to get murdered at these leadership workshops?
Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely they'll want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources in a hospital bed while our position sits vacant. That's smart. Like snipers purposely avoiding vital areas to strain the enemy's medical resources.
That's terrible. Like snipers purposely avoiding vital areas in order to strain the enemy's medical resources.
I love her. She is such a good little being. Like Sarah and Morgan think very much alike. They just get to polar opposite ends of the spectrum on the output. That's nothing compared to when they want to turn an asset. Feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosable malady? Or become normal, and we'll send you the antidote every 2 weeks.
That's a nasty piece of work.
It's a nasty line of work, consulting.
I'm sorry?
That's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spy on your CV.
So every consultant I've met at a cocktail party was actually...
It depends. Did they say they're consultants? Or did they say they were in consulting? How the hell am I supposed to remember? So, yeah, the tired guy said he was in consulting, not back when I was a consultant. Did he? I thought he said in consulting.
So, do your people think that what happened to David was a deliberate attack?
He said in consulting. Okay. Noble's competitors have been trying to get David for years. And that's the timescale their plans operate on. If this was an attack from a rival corporation, the company would have seen it coming. And they'd probably have struck first.
I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups?
There's a story there. David and I got hired around the same time under similar circumstances. Headhunted while finishing our higher education. During recruiting, the company claimed to want us badly, but in practice our actual authority was
inexperienced and overpaid. He must have been extremely unpopular.
But don't mince words. We didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince our superiors that their entire sales model for androids was antiquated and self-defeating. The two of them made the one-point doctrine? That's not the story I've heard in Noble commercials and Noble sponsored media. And come to think of it, it's not a story I've heard from David himself. We had this deadline, self-imposed, but still a deadline. We wanted to get our pitch to the president of international sales by the end of the day. 7 p.m. rolls around and people start filtering out. David still has his head buried in diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. The clock hits 9, even the zombies start heading home. I turn to David, tell him that's not gonna happen. We're nowhere near finished and the day is long since been over. He looked at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat and I've just stopped pitching water, and he says, "The president lives on the other side of the globe. You've still got all night before his day ends." We wrapped up at 4 in the morning, just us and the cleaning staff. Back then, only half of them were ads. Finally sent the message, and I'm ready to collapse. I've got nothing. We stared blankly at his inbox for the next 14 minutes, hoping that the harsh light would give us the energy to work through the next day. And we got a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. I had been turned down so many times before then, ignored and placated, passed up and ghosted, but together, David and I, we finally had gotten a win. So David asks if I've got anything to drink. I've got a bottle of some swill in a cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle, says he wants to toast. So we sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka to one another in cups we grabbed from the break room. Toasting our first victory against the corporate beast. Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell.
Sounds like a good memory.
Plastic cups and liquor. That was our little ritual. I swear I can read. Jesus Christ. Though I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. It was ceremony for us.
As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you?
That's correct.
Didn't you join the company at around the same time?
David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't take playing the corporate politics game, or didn't like playing the corporate politics game.
So was he unpopular around here?
Not unpopular, no. Not the great David Asher. Misunderstood, perhaps.
How so?
He could be blunt, demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be, it's just not everyone could work at the same pace he did, for as long as he did. Even with the whole company huffing those inhalers, they couldn't keep pace with David. Speaking of which, I don't see any at Young's desk. Maybe it's just not something you leave out in the open at her level.
So, would you say that his work-life balance was...
Balance implies that the two are at odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company.
Fascinating. So, was he in harmony?
That's... Yeah, I'm with you there, Nix. Like, Christ. No, David always had plenty of suitors, but He was never willing to put the time in. But I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on that subject.
Right. What do you mean?
I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for misunderstandings and double bookings.
Scandalous.
The A16 only entered production this year, correct? Correct. Pre-order started last holiday and we began shipping in the first quarter. I understand that you were instrumental in the success of Warm Androids. I played my part supervising the launch, yes. Weren't you the one who designed Serotonin? The factor that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts? Surprised you've heard of that. I did lead that project, yes, but that was years ago. At the time, Serotonin was little more than a novelty, a dead end. It wasn't until David took the reins on the A16 that we found a use for it.
Took the reins?
He was lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters, and he designed the synthetic nerves that made all of that possible.
David did all of that?
That's a lot more than just programming. Was he always so gifted in that many fields?
Did he fill those roles on the A14 or A15?
No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as software architect. That was his field of expertise, and he didn't wander far. But 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting in on other departments, taking notes. Soon he was joining the discussion, proposing new ideas. And eventually, they came to follow his lead.
Just like that?
Just like that.
So he just applied himself, and soon he was leading other departments?
That's the kind of genius that Dr. David Asher was. Maybe they weren't paying him enough. The company profited the most, of course, but the entire industry benefited from his vision and leadership. His loss will be felt for years. I really wish that when the dialogue options came up, the noble in the background would get darkened or something, because it's really hard to see some of the things that line up with that.
So, this android, Sarah. Even Dawes couldn't find any real details on where it came from.
It's not in any of our systems?
I'm afraid not. Did David ever talk to you or anyone else at the company about a pet project?
Pet? Oh, he never gave any indication like that. I love how upset she got by being called a pet project. And if he didn't talk to me about it, I seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher on the food chain than himself, and anyone below him, frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him advice.
He never mentioned me?
No, never.
Androids don't come cheap. You never heard about him requisitioning parts or resources? There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card?
The company's accounts are mirthless, even by industry standards. They wouldn't humor anybody, not even David Asher. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, there would have been an uproar loud enough you could hear it from the mailroom.
You have a mailroom?
That, Sarah, honey, that is not something to get sparkle eyes over. You nerd. Not since the 30s. Just a figure of speech. And she's so disappointed! Oh my gosh. He couldn't have taken resources from the company without leaving a record. But no one would deny Dr. David Asher information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, with enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself.
I don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah.
He wasn't doing anything illegal. Except the hacking stuff. So why keep it secret? I don't know. But he was private and a perfectionist. Perhaps he simply wasn't proud of his results. I see that has activated Sarah.
Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Alright, have a good whatever you're gonna do, Matt.
I'm sure this has been a difficult day for you.
A difficult day for all of us. A message from Fran. I'm running out of leads to chase. The brat better have good news. Are you really going to take this to court?
That's my plan. Circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from a criminal charge. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty of what he's been accused of.
Is that what you believe? That he didn't commit suicide? I guess I haven't decided what I believe.
Would you kindly slow the hell down?
I see you, game. I see you in that BioShock reference.
I'm sorry, Adonai. Was I walking too quickly for you? That wasn't walking. That was speed walking. Up 2 flights of stairs. It's very different. Speed walking? Sounds like a powerful technique. Is it like the Xianzhao? Just let me catch my breath for a minute. Adonai? Is it possible that you are out of shape?
I mean, she is a smoker.
No. But since we left the cab, your heart rate has... I'm not wearing the right clothes. Or the right shoes. Is that so? Yes. Also, I didn't stretch or hydrate, and the sun's reaching its zenith. That would have been several hours ago. You mean the air temp? You said it would be a short walk from street level, so I prepared myself mentally for a short walk. Then you took off like a rocket, and you didn't mention we'd have to go upstairs. Are you sure this place is even back here? The reviews online were quite clear. It's worth the trouble finding it. Maybe if you're a mountain climber.
When I sent Fran hunting for a musician in David's circles, I expected them to bring me to someone from the city orchestra or a jazz club. The champagne, flute, and teacup kind of musician. But this is the tequila and neon part of town.
It should be in view if we turn... Adonai, be careful. Of what? It's a stray, and it's bearing its fangs, too. It could be carrying diseases. You should... relax. Adonai, it's growling. Not growling at me. See? So it's just me that it doesn't like. Too much static. How'd you get it to calm down?
Also, God, the framing of this makes Sarah look tiny in comparison to Morgan. Like, I don't know. You know what? Here, actually, hold up. Where's Sarah's profile? 160 centimeters. What is that in freedom units? 5'2"? Okay. And paired Morgan, 175. With how much is 175? 5'7". So not that big. Not that big of a discrepancy anyway.
How do you get it to calm down? It's an animal, not a monster. It wants to be calm. Do you like animals? What kind of cold-blooded freak doesn't like animals? Do you have a pet? No, never have. Why not? Because I don't want to take care of a pet. That seems counterintuitive to me. Well,
close to 5'9". Okay. So Morgan would actually be like around my height, because like I'm 5'10", 5'11", somewhere in there. Almost 6 feet, depending on what shoes I wear. 1 inch taller than me. Hell yeah.
well, it makes perfect sense to me, and I don't need it to make sense to you. But you notice you're only this talkative when it's just the two of us? Just an observation. You shy or something? Did David program you to have android anxiety? It's generally only appropriate to respond to comments that are addressed to oneself. Today I have rarely been addressed directly by people other than you. In other words, you're shy. That's not what I... Can I try petting it? There's no law against it. This is the establishment. Now to see if Isaac Porter is as habitual as Fran claims. Do you think Father was close with this man? This man who you've never met? I think he was close with him, yeah. At some point.
I had some help making that deduction. Fran saw that their metadata showed a significant cooling of interaction between the two of them, particularly over the past month. But Fran also saw a phone call between the two last night.
So they were close. Do you think they were sleeping together?
I love that Sarah says that and all the music just stops. Like, that is very the, jazz music stops reaction image right there. Like, you can't just ask that.
That is completely inappropriate for me or anyone to speculate about. Inappropriate? Adonai, it's only... I'm getting a very important text message from my private investigator. Excuse me.
Hi, Fran. Did you catch the killer yet?
No. The hell, I sent you his POS. I'm at his position. I haven't spoken to Porter yet. Anyway, there's no reason to suspect him right now.
Lame.
Surprised you're invested all of a sudden. Isn't David Asher a corporate sellout in your eyes?
Everyone's a corporate sellout.
But Asher gets respect. If I'm a demolitions expert, he's like a really good architect. That's almost sweet, I think.
Asher started out working in Cube. So in the architect analogy, by today's standards, he's like IDK. As a kid, he built all his bricks by hand or something.
You know that lit Homer can help you with forming analogies. Eat this analogy.
I love that it's censored. Did that come through, or did the characters break? It's supposed to be a guy giving you the finger.
I take it Cube is a programming language? What's special about it?
Pretty much everything coded in the last 20 years is web-based. You code with the assumption that you'll always be connected. So you can depend on having fat libraries of references to lean on. And if something does go wrong, your errors get reported to you automatically.
But not Cube?
I'm gonna look it up. But basically, Cube was originally for robotics and like machinery, stuff that had to operate in mines, under the ocean, middle of nowhere fields with zero signal service. So Cube had to be self-sufficient.
How rugged?
Where'd Asher learn Cube anyway? It's older than dirt. From like the 40s.
I don't know. I think his father had a machine shop or something.
Vague. Yeah, well, David didn't like to talk about his family. And I never asked.
What did your private investigator have to say, Adonai? Not telling.
He programs in Lisp. God. The stage for the talent, pretty close to the floor. Guess it fits with the whole round table aspect of this place. Everyone's on more or less equal footing, dancing in the dark once you get past the bouncer.
You think they might have met here? David and Porter?
I can't see David walking in here.
Because you found the walk so challenging?
Because it's too loud to relax. And not dark enough to be anonymous.
I see.
What's that face? You got an opinion to share?
The atmosphere's not bad in here, but the music isn't quite.
I'll find you a survey to fill out before we leave.
What kind of music does an android even like? Early 21st century punk rock.
You know what? Honestly, good for her. Good taste there.
That just you, or does that go for all androids? I haven't met all androids. I can't speak for them.
She is not into Nickelback. God. There's nothing punk rock about Nickelback. Jesus Christ.
Wonder what they'd say. If they're smart, they'd say that music peaked with early 21st punk rock. Debate settled.
Okay, that's the guy. A bar stocked with colorful selections and busy bartenders. Hope this isn't some kind of club you can order food in. Only time bar food is any good is when you're drunk enough to forget the taste in the gap between chewing and swallowing.
So, you can, like, eat things.
Yes, I can.
What, like android food? There is no such product. So what do androids eat? Online user guides for Noble Swarm models clarify that they don't eat anything in the traditional sense. They get their energy from electrical charging, usually wireless. Whenever they need to eat, it's to replenish specific vitamins and electrolytes. Sounds a lot like what mod users go through with their sport drinks and energy bars. And charger separation anxiety. According to the net, warm androids can ingest nutrient-rich processed carbohydrate pellets if they need to forego electrical charging long-term. Processed pellets? Mean like kibble? Like dog food? No, it's not like dog food at all. And you buy it from the pet store? It seems you can. How is this something you have to look up anyway? Because I've always just eaten whatever father gave me. Like what? Marbled beef, ever hydroponic avocados, foie gras, that sort of thing.
I am not paying for any of that.
But, like, she can have a burger. She can have burgers, it's fine.
What kind of reading material gets left out in a club? A tabloid interview? Exclusive sit down with luxury. Alright. You've heard her name on everyone's lips. You've seen her face in magazines and commercials, and then double check to make sure the photos weren't labeled as edited. Now get all your burning questions about her answered here in our exclusive interview with the mysterious young woman who's been called in perhaps the only truly unanimous vote the net's ever seen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Okay, why the name? People think it's an ego thing, but it was just a random username I picked back when I was grassroots. Then it was a pseudonym to give me a little shade from all the attention. Now it's a brand, and I can't change it without setting the stock market stock market into a spin, so you're certainly influential. After partnering with you, Inti saw a 3,000% increase in share price. Yay, I'm happy for them, of course. But to be honest, it's a pain at times like this. She gestures toward her clothes. Plain white t-shirt and gym shorts, with no branding visible. On anyone else, it might seem sloppy or unflattering. On her, it only makes her natural beauty stand out that much more. Who are you wearing, by the way? Can't wear anyone unless I'm attending something. If I don't dress like this, all my sponsors fall into bidding wars every time I leave the house. Does it stress you out, all that attention? Dress is bad for your skin, right? They say mine's flawless. Can't argue with that. So do you have a skincare routine? Any tips you'd like to share? Be a little bratty, act a little spoiled, keeps you young. And how old are you exactly? Everyone's dying to know. 18 to 29, now and forever. Don't get stuck on a cliffhanger like that. Hurry, log in below so you can read the rest. Quickly, time is running out. Well, however old she is or isn't, Luxury's got one hell of a mind for business. Might do her more good than that face in the end. Maybe. One hell of a face. In the meantime, she's powerful. Sunrises are too meteoric even for the Megs to grab the reins on. At this point, Luxury's got them at her mercy. She can send their stocks into disarray with one selfie. Good for her. Okay, yeah, that's him alright. Looks like he's killing time before his sets tonight. Are you unsure about how to proceed, Adonai? I'm sure that you need to hang back. As for me, Well, I mean, looking at all the designs in this game and everything, ain't nothing straight about anybody here. So we're gonna play it cool. Hey there. Hey. Sick beats out there on the floor, right? She can't play it straight. She's gay, right? Sick beats. Yeah, or whatever, man. The hell? Are you a fucking cop or something? This isn't a cop bar. And you aren't really dressed like a cop. But damn, you're media, aren't you? Fucking vultures, man. Perhaps I should start over. My name's Morgan. I was David's friend. I'm currently his lawyer. Can we talk? And yes, that was absolutely worth losing the chips over. Not here. Thanks, Isaac. Don't thank me yet. I might just sit here, shut my mouth, and stick you with my tab. So what kind of lawyer are you? What kind of friend?
I'm his defense attorney.
Think you missed the bus on that then, yeah?
And I'm a friend that needs to know what happened yesterday.
Doesn't everyone? Try somewhere else, friendly lawyer. I haven't seen him in weeks.
Might not have seen him, but we both know that you spoke with him over the phone yesterday. Only a short time before he died.
What the hell?
Isaac, it's pretty obvious that you don't want this particular spotlight to linger on you any longer than necessary. So why don't we cut to the chase? No lies, no playing coy.
Fine.
Sarah? Yes, Adonai?
The hell? That thing transmitting?
Am not streaming any data, no.
Porter doesn't seem to recognize Sarah either. One more person David was keeping secrets from.
I need to record everything for the court.
Fine.
You two were together, is that correct?
We were together. I ended it. Yesterday.
Care to elaborate?
On our entire relationship?
Look, you can tell me everything once and I can get it on record. Or you can hear the same questions over and over again from 1,000 different cops and Megs for the next 3 months.
We met in a bar. I had seen him come in a few times, each time with someone else. Each time talking with his mouth, but not looking with his eyes. It ticked me off. Scribbling on napkins and letting his single gin and tonic sweat onto the table for 2 hours. States would all go to the bathroom or take a call and slip out the back. One of them didn't even make it at 10 minutes. And he'd still sit there the rest of the night, unfazed. Couldn't tell if he was oblivious or stupid or shameless or most confident man in the world. And he ticked me off. One night, things were slow and my set had been canceled, and his date hadn't even bothered to think of an excuse before bailing, so I asked him why he'd insisted on coming there night after night. Just to ignore vapid people he wasn't interested in at a shitty bar with drinks he didn't like. And he just said, because I like your music. Man, did that tick me off. It was cute early on. Him being so passionate about work I could barely pretend to understand. I like that we gave each other space, you know? Felt like we were being mature or whatever. Until? There was no until. No one day where everything turned sour. At some point, started to understand where his priorities were. How I ranked in them. Like I said, he was passionate about his work. I just wrongly assumed that he would also be that passionate about me at some point. So I pulled away a little. Wanted to see if he'd notice, if he'd miss me. Testing him like that isn't the biggest red flag in the world. Never budged. I could ignore him for days and he wouldn't be the least bit ashamed to see me. If I picked a fight, he'd never get angry or upset, he'd just apologize. He didn't want to fight with me, as he was never invested enough to bother. It was my mistake. I watched him sit there all those nights not giving a shit when people walked away, and still I had this stupid idea that somehow, for whatever reason, I would be different. That I would be special. But I wasn't, so I ended it.
Last night?
I called him, didn't expect he'd pick up. I had everything prepared to leave a message with an assistant or ad or whatever. But he answered, first ring. Without hesitation, shame, or awkwardness. And that ticked me off. I told him exactly how valued he had made me feel the past few months. Told him exactly how insignificant I felt as the boyfriend of the illustrious Dr. David Asher.
And what did he say?
He apologized. Then asked me if that was all I called to tell him. Woof. I hung up after that. Spent the rest of the night wrapped in warm disdain for him and his coldness. He had made that easy for me. I went to sleep hurt but clean, ready for something new. Then this morning I woke up to see that my ex killed himself not 2 hours after he let me walk out of his life without so much as a don't. The hell, man? The hell, David? And now you're just the tip of the iceberg of lawyers and reporters and buzzards. Parasites who want to hear about the man who sent David Asher over the edge. Never wanted to be his last lifeline or the straw that broke his back. Just wanted to be his goddamn boyfriend. Turns out that I was asking for too much.
It's yet to be determined whether David committed suicide.
Serious?
You don't have all the facts.
And you do? Any one of them point to anything else? Thought so.
Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to it.
That's it? No summons?
The court has no need for you to retell a sad story like that.
Court? Or the court, huh?
Sorry to bother you at work. Sarah, let's go.
I mean, at least he's self-aware that testing his boyfriend is a huge red flag. I mean, yeah.
Your discography is very impressive.
Yeah, thanks.
And your range is remarkable. So it pained me to see that all your works, in the last quarter, have been so melancholy. I think...
Well, what the hell would you know about any of that? Doesn't matter, can't find the words. Need to steal them from somewhere first, butcher them before shitting them back out.
I was not trained on any data sets that...
Pardon me, my mistake, really. Not your fault, you're only standing here because rich prick nerds were allowed to rob the world blind for most of the century.
Sarah, we're leaving. What the hell was that about? It was under the false impression that I was programmed using a massive automated learning model, an early 21st century... Not that. Why did you talk to him? I just felt that I should say something to him. A word of advice. People don't want comfort from strangers, especially when they're androids. They want it from people they want it from. Coming from anywhere else, it's just corn syrup on a parched tongue. Doesn't matter how sweet it is, they'll just start gagging. You know a lot about people, don't you, Adonai? Compared to you, I'm a goddamn savant. Come on, there's not much time left. There's still somewhere, is there still somewhere you want to investigate? Somewhere I need to return to, actually.
Porter was right. As things stand, I don't have any evidence that could establish an alternative interpretation of the facts. But if there did exist hard evidence that could prove his death wasn't a suicide, there's only one place I could find it at this point.
The basement. You sure you don't want another look at the crime scene? I'm all out of time. Gotta approach this from the other angle.
I am very intrigued about the case, yes.
Other angle? Inductive versus deductive, flip the chessboard and all that. Haven't you read a mystery novel? I've seen mystery films. Well, let's see if you paid any attention then. What killed David Asher? Poison. 10 points. There's a point system. Now, how did that poison get into his bloodstream? He must have ingested it orally. And how do we know that? The medical examiner found no injection marks or wounds. And if he had inhaled it? Why, leave the whys to someone who actually understands them. I won't be able to understand anything if I don't practice. Practice by answering my question. I suppose it's possible, but highly unlikely. We would have found a delivery system for it in the building, like an inhaler. Right, an airborne poison is either shoved in your face or sprayed over a wide area. And no one around David has shown any kind of symptoms. I swear, it's like the longer I read, the dumber I get. Okay. So all we're left with is oral intake, eliminating the impossible. What's next, Adonai? Young's corroborated statement was that David didn't exhibit any irregular symptoms or behavior until he started drinking last night. And the police didn't find anything unusual in any of the food or drink in his home. Except for this cup. The results were inconclusive. Young was drinking from the same bottle in the same type of cup, but didn't get sick. We have to conclude then that David's cup alone was poisoned. And yes, I did update that. That all seems logical and consistent with the police theory of suicide. So why are we down here? Minus 10 points. Back to 0. David left the parlor and came back with whiskey and 2 cups. Young told us as much, and apparently the cameras upstairs support her story. So we have to conclude then that he got them both from this bar? Better. 5 points. She's so proud of those 5 points. What the fuck? Did he also get the poison from the cabinet? The police have been in here since we left. According to their ARCS file, they didn't find anything that matches the poison down here. So the poison somehow went straight into his drinking cup then. Need to flip this around again. But if you turn something 360 degrees, you're just back to... If I were the prosecution, what would I want more than anything? Proof that David knowingly added the poison himself. He wouldn't do that. And you can make that claim because there's no video evidence to contradict you. How long was David off camera? From 7:36 to 7:40 p.m. when he left the parlor to get liquor from this bar. So if we had David on camera for those 4 minutes, and he didn't poison himself in that time, he would have the perfect alibi for the crime, proving his innocence. But Adonai, we don't have footage of that. There are no security cameras down here. I think there are. What do you mean? This whole building is coded head to toe in Penumbra security systems, courtesy of Noble. Every console, every corner, every Android on every floor, it's all plugged into Penumbra. Except that. That panel is, manufactured by Cotter Security Systems. Why would David put a console for a different security system in exactly one corner of his penthouse? I've never given it much thought. Well, it's been bothering me all day. But my curiosity alone can't scale a 64-digit wall. I mean, signal hijacking, or whatever you want to call it. Have you tried it before? It is illegal and unnecessary. Father would not have installed hidden cameras in his own home. At the end of the day, I can't make you do anything. Well, actually, I probably can now that you're registered to me. But aren't you the one who wanted to prove his innocence? Eliminate the impossible. I will need your express verbal command. Not like David can press charges against us at this point. Do it. Did you really need me to say that? For the purposes of record keeping, yes. I've gotten past the 64-digit code, and I have found cameras. There are a number of them embedded in the room's walls and ceilings. As you theorized, they are on a separate network from the rest of the building. Where are they feeding it to if not the penumbra system? Behind my hibernation unit. False wall in the back of a safe. I don't understand. Why would Father possibly have hidden a hidden system of cameras inside his own home? Beats me? He was brilliant and more than a little odd. Throw in a little money and odd becomes eccentric. I see, I think.
I don't. What the hell was he thinking? What was he afraid of? Why didn't he come to me for... Time's short. Gather facts now. Leave the computation for later. Okay. Where was the thing? Oh, that's up there. The liquor cabinet, dismissed. Words, Jesus Christ. I did say corporate espionage, blackmail, torture was basically a fact of life. Yep. The liquor cabinet this mystery hinges on. The police have been through it all by now, and they didn't find foreign contents in any of the spirits. No poison to be found here. Well, not that kind of poison anyway. In which case...
Can I make you anything? Well, if you're offering, I'll have... Sorry, you're way underage, aren't you? 2 years old or whatever? Technically.
Took that one a lot worse than I expected.
Cheer up. Maybe you'll find a mocktail if you climb to the top of the ladder. It's a rolling ladder. A kind of step ladder, not a ladder.
Game! Game, you can't do this to me! I have Ace Attorney on Friday with Rosa. You can't bring the ladder in here! Game! The fuck? Okay.
What? Remember, a ladder extends, but a stepladder folds out. And it's important to know the distinction. I'd bet my life savings that this subject will never come up again. Ever.
Looks directly at Ace Attorney. I do. I like both, actually.
What did David even do with all this equipment? Dry his laundry? What makes you so sure he wasn't exercising? Did you ever see him use any of this crap? No, but he must have used the weights when I wasn't looking.
Okay, at least there isn't a parrot yet. God.
Since he promised me that he'd take better care of his health. Sarah, these weights are all maxed out. David couldn't have put up numbers like this even if he was piloting a frame. Don't be so sure, Adonai. Pardon? The following is a true story based on primary sources who were present for the events and its aftermath. Copenhagen, 1981, 8:10 a.m. local time. The towering man with the musculature of a world-class professional rugby player enters the Global Donkey Bank on Fredericksburg Lane. He explains to the bank teller that he has a bomb in his suitcase and that he wants his gym bag filled with unmarked bills. A security guard approaches him from behind with a nightstick and swings, but the man simply catches the weapon and bends it into a twisted knot with his massive frame, dinner plate-sized hands. When asked to describe the suspect, the police afterwards, the teller had only this to say: that man was all muscle. The rest of the bank heist proceeds without incident, and the man exits the building just as police arrive on the scene when suddenly, his suitcase explodes. But it's just a smokescreen. Local officers quickly recognize the ploy and rush towards the door, grabbing each of the hostages as they flee while desperately searching for the perpetrator. What they find instead is a diminutive, frail, sheepish young man, barely 160 centimeters tall, holding a gym bag full of money with no recollection of how he got there. Renowned psychologist and trained hypnotist Dr. Werner Kurtzer wrote the following in his diagnosis: acute dissociative identity disorder. That's right, the man had a split personality. And so great was the disparity between his two halves that when they switched control, he physically changed, becoming taller, bulkier, and capable of previously unthinkable feats of strength. So be careful what you say a man like Father can't do just because of how he looks on the outside. Sarah, every single word of what you said was false. Huh? Don't believe everything you read on the net. This was just the Hulk. What's the story with this anyway? Some kind of fault in the foundation? I don't know. I've never noticed that crack before. Might want to get those eyes checked. There's nothing wrong with my vision. This crack must have been created during my most recent hibernation. How? Did David drop a weight a bunch of times over and over in the same spot? Also, God, Sarah would absolutely be the type to go down the copypasta, or the creepypasta rabbit hole and just start believing everything. Is that the original? It was appraised and confirmed to be genuine. At least he didn't get ripped off. I'm a Philistine when it comes... shit. What? Log, here we go. I'm a Philistine when it comes to this kind of stuff. What does an android see? I see a meeting. Or perhaps an encounter? Two apex forces of nature, two kings of the forest, the stag and the tiger. I think. Great. I'm officially less cultured than the robot. Alright, let's refocus here. So there's some kind of hidden door behind your bunk bed, huh? Essentially, though a bunk bed would imply a second or third. How do we open it? One moment. I see. Got it open already? I cannot open this door. I was just typing to let Sarah read copypasta. Raymond suddenly feels proud for no good reason. Why? It is a Tethys Basics Sturdicure. That anti-hack feature in the name is real? It's a closed system, Adonai. How am I supposed to do now? Strange. There was an if-then toggle enabled in the security parameters. I don't follow. When Father last adjusted the settings here, he made it so that the door would never open so long as I was hibernating. And he made it so that I was the only one who could wake her up. Meaning this is a door that only I can open? It'll be a 6-character password. Some combination of numbers or letters. Did you and Father have any influential moments in your life that revolved around a 6-letter word? Nothing comes to mind.
Is there a code word that he knew only I could learn? So there's one word in specific that comes up in my mind with that framing of a word that only Morgan would learn. How about that?
It's opening. What was the password, Adonai?
You'd never guess. Yeah, that yawn came out of fucking nowhere. Did feel a bit out of character, David utilizing so much cloak and dagger tech. And I've definitely been struggling with the idea of him doing home improvement. But one step in here and it all makes sense. It's a panic room.
Harry. Panic room is a place for rich people to hide in when people start bouncing bricks off their windows. They're typically not even on the blueprints. So when Noble built this penthouse for one of their executives, someone slipped this into the mix, and it's remained in Noble's blind spot ever since.
All David had to do was repurpose it.
Make sure you're capturing all of this. I don't want to miss my one chance because of a discovery technicality. I understand, but you needn't specify. My memory is flawless. I can play back visuals, sounds, sensations. I can even give detailed reports on air particulates. Mean you can smell? Better than any human, and some canines. So does it smell stale in here to you? Stale? It doesn't to me. Almost like someone's been in here recently.
Almost like someone visits here frequently.
Alright, let's try booting up the computer. You don't think the console is password protected? 2 physical doors, a 64-digit code, a half-ton Android, and a secret phrase. If David sets a password on his PC after all that, I'm going back in the morgue to have a word with him.
Good, it's already signed in. That is a hell of an image, holy crap.
Looking for camera footage? I'd also settle for a note plainly stating that he feared for his life. What am I doing? Here, Hughes search for video files. They'll probably be timestamped and formatted for short-range devices. I have the subfolder. The cameras stream live data constantly, but the files are clipped at fairly regular intervals. Once every week, it seems. The most recent video file here has footage going back 8 days. It was accessed yesterday at around 4 p.m. You were asleep then, so the only person who could get in here at the time is David himself. Alright, let's see it then. Of course, it's just that I am having difficulty. Try double-clicking? I have been trying to open the files from the moment I discovered them, Adonai.
I swear to God, if it's just a random fucking CAPTCHA.
Okay. But they are encrypted. Damn it, David. Leave me enough clues to get this far, but you won't let me use your computer? What's the brand on the encryption program? If I rush a subpoena, they might have a back door I could bluff them into. Files were not encrypted with any commercially available tool. It appears to be Father's own work. Shit. If David Asher hand-wrote the encryption on these files, there's no one alive who could. Hey, was Dawes just flattering you back there? Or is your processing power really that special? Adonai, can you break his encryption, yes or no? With enough time? And how much time would that be? I would estimate it at 2 to 6 hours. That's a 4-hour window. No matter how sophisticated encryption no matter how sophisticated, encryption is still just a code that must be deciphered. And when deciphering any code, progress proceeds exponentially, which makes it particularly difficult to determine the amount of time required to complete the process. 2 to 6 hours. I don't have any better options. Get started. I started 4 minutes and 23 seconds ago. Finally showing some initiative. But you've been talking to me this whole time. I have the ability to analyze data in parallel by utilizing subconscious processes, so long as the work required is rote. So you're doing it in the back of your head? Actually, I'm speaking to you in the back of my head.
That face there, Jesus Christ.
I could give the decryption process my full undivided attention, but I would become non-responsive. Hey, that's a pretty nifty feature. I'll have to keep that in mind. Alright, can you take this show on the road, or do we have to rip this computer out of the wall and find a battery? I have copied the encrypted files and will work on them as we travel. We can leave whenever you're ready.
Still can't believe that David let me get this far just to shut the door in my face at the last second. But he did let me get this far. And the computer's not the only thing in here. The cabinets are a lot less eye-catching than his computer, but knowing David, that's all the more reason to check. Lots of paperwork, bonds and holdings, a platinum bar. Birth certificate might be nearly as valuable. Can't imagine what people would say to, or what people would pay to steal David Asher's identity. And down here at the bottom, a binder. Noble's logo on the front, and in the middle, enough pages to dwarf one of those phone books you see in period pieces. They're masking it in legalese, even on the table of contents. But basically, this is his employment contract.
Hold on to this for me. It must be very important if you're giving it to me. It's certainly very heavy. Was there anything else in there? Expecting an updated copy of his will to show up? It is a possibility, isn't it? Maybe in a corny old murder mystery. A widely beloved and respected genre with over 2 centuries of... There is something else. Your papers. That Evangeline Morgan be given immediate and complete ownership of the android designated Sarah.
It's dated to a few weeks back. Had he already made up his mind about all of this? If he had, why'd he hide this where no one else could find it? Was I just a backup plan?
Well, at least we've got something a bit more concrete than Starling's word now. Her word should be plenty, shouldn't it? Not if people realize how precious you are.
That face, like, goddamn. She is extremely cute, not gonna lie.
As a collector's item.
And then back to the deadpan. Man was definitely fearing something, right?
We've yet to meet one person who knows what the hell you are. But Noble could have easily argued that you fall under private technology or physical holdings. Unless I had something like this. It's good that you do, then. Glad that Father wanted me to go with a friend of his. Yeah. This'll get me a huge tax write-off when I donate you to a for-profit college. Could at least pick a charitable institute. It's just an old saying. All colleges have been for-profit since the 60s. That doesn't make me feel any better. You can cheer up in the car. Hail us a ride to the courthouse. Priority. There is an upcharge at this hour for priority transportation. That's irritating. I'd like to have more than just a few minutes to prepare once we get there. The upcharge is a multiplier of 5.7. I'll prepare on the way over. Very good, Adonai. Does it excite you going into courtrooms? What do you mean? You don't feel the tension in the air as the audience murmurs amongst themselves? You don't feel a fiery sense of justice rising in your gut as the prosecution smirks at your ragtag assembly of witnesses? Do you really think this is going to be like some kind of movie where the good guys save the day? Also, I am absolutely certain that Sarah's favorite movie is the Takashi Miike Ace Attorney movie. Probably not. Though that would be fine if it were, or that would be nice if it were. What's your deal anyway? Did David train you off of a movie marathon from hell or something? We did watch films together if that's what you're asking, though he was rarely the one who suggested it. So you were the aggressor. What's an android get out of watching a flick anyway? What do I get? What do you do to... Why do you do it? What's your reason? I'm not sure how to answer your question. Never mind. I forgot who I was talking to. I like the performances. Sure, there you go. Had a crush on Humphrey Bogart or something? He is a handsome man. But it's not the actors I like so much as their performance. The truth is, besides Father, I have very little experience when it comes to people. I hadn't noticed. I read the net, and I watch people, and what they share of their lives. But it's all so subtle, so hard to follow. There are so many unspoken rules that can't be taught, only learned, and I often struggle to grasp them. You're all so complex, so detailed. But the characters on screen are exaggerated, larger than life. The actors enunciate their body language as precise and meaningful. Their faces are bright and softly lit, and their eyes are... It's fiction. So these characters and their stories, they have a beginning, a middle, and end. And people on screen don't ask anything of you except your attention. You can't disappoint them or make them feel awkward. You can just watch and learn. But what about you, Adonai? What about me? Do you like movies? And so then the current USA, David had every reason to be paranoid and not... I mean, yes. I hate how real this is, right? Yeah, sure, back when I was a kid. Really? Who was your favorite director? What was your favorite film? It was a long time ago. I don't remember. Things are quieter than I expected here at the courthouse. Though I've always felt courthouse is a bit of a misnomer. Government building is probably the best way to describe these towers, all-encompassing and impenetrably vague. 100 floors of officials and documents and paper-pushing queues, with a couple dozen courtrooms squeezed in along the way. Didn't think I'd be arguing in court when I woke up today. Didn't think that my friend would be dead, or that he'd have thrust an android onto my lap either. I could just walk in there and concede. Emma would be irritated, and more than a little confused, but I could play it off as an exercise in grief. The android would complain, loudly of course, but I wouldn't have to listen to it. Now that it's registered in my name, I could probably just order the damn thing to reset its memory. But I haven't done that. I guess I don't plan to. Why?
Must be because I have my suspicions as well. Sarah insists that David would never commit suicide. I haven't actually stopped to ask myself whether or not I agree. David was rational, subdued, private, hard on himself, and not prone to emotional outbursts. And so maybe that's why I find myself outside a courtroom, prepared to humor and add suspicions before the state. Because I don't really believe David killed himself either. What's your progress bar at? I can confirm that I am making progress. Well, shit, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But it would be difficult to summarize that progress in terms of completion percent. Give it your best shot anyway. 4%. Are you feeling confident in your case? Markedly less so after hearing that. Do you think the judge will be amenable to your argument? What are you talking about? Do you know the judge we've been assigned? Are they particularly lenient or strict? Adjutants are always a coin flip, so... You do know what an adjutant is, don't you? Are you expecting to see a bearded old man with a robe and gavel when we get in there? Should I not? Kinda sad I'm not gonna get to use my judge voice for this. Because I'm actually really proud of the judge voice I've come up with for the Ace Attorney stuff on Rose's channel. Adjutants are android judges, okay? With all the authority that entails. I am surprised to hear that people are willing to accept rulings made by automated dependents. Rulings come from landmark cases in the higher courts. Those are passed down by actual judges, real people with decades of study and experience. But not every eviction case or traffic ticket that ends up in court requires years of legal expertise. Sometimes all you need is a referee and a sentencing algorithm. So androids are used to reduce caseload? Been that way for decades. But how was a law that replaced judges ever enforced? Wouldn't there be injunctions stalling? Judges did fight it for years at every level and in every theater. But the public lost their patience for that kind of obstruction during the 60s. The state needed to shred budgets across the board. And so judges that couldn't be replaced by years of legal battles were instead ushered into early retirement by the unrelenting force of our great nation's accountants. And it's not controversial, having machines determining sentencing for human beings? Whatever controversy there is, it gets aimed at the machines, not the people who put them there. And the machines can't lose sleep over it. Besides, used to be that even the most high profile of crimes wouldn't get a court date until weeks or months later. Nowadays, most crimes are prosecuted within a single business week. And that's not rushing things. Keeps people in my line of work on their toes, that's for sure. I'm just surprised to hear that there's so much haste. Don't they teach you about classical conditioning in Android school? You gotta feed the dog immediately after you ring the bell. If punishment doesn't follow the crime in quick succession, the lesson doesn't stick. I see. But if adjutants are so effective, why aren't they used in every trial? Why aren't they used in politics? That's a logical question to ask. And the answer is that logic only gets you so far when it comes to people. Doesn't everyone want the courts to be just as possible? Or as just as possible? If adjutants are truly impartial and incorruptible, everyone wants justice, sure. But there are other considerations to be had, such as disgust. What? That's all people really care about, what all their morals boil down to. Just what they do or don't find disgusting. Only problem is, everything's more palatable when viewed through a screen.
So when everyone sees the world through AR and cameras and no one ever gets dirt under their fingernails, you'd be surprised what you can get away with. I don't understand. Yeah, well, therein lies the problem. Hi, Emma. How you doing? Ethics cannot rely on disgust as a moral judgment. No. Also, I don't like that there's like a red and white diamond just kind of floating into the frame here. Just a preliminary hearing, huh? You wouldn't know it from the look on her face. But I shouldn't have expected any leeway once we stepped into the courtroom. Not with her. That's the adjutant up there? Is it asleep? It's loading. Y'all. Why the fuck is the robot judge a tall mommy? Like, if she didn't have actual feet, if her legs just ended in peg legs, she would look like she just walked off of the set of Signalis. Why does the robot judge have big mommy milkers? Like, come on! This is like... This, I feel personally attacked here. Like, come on! Oh, god damn. Ugh. It needs to load. Don't be rude. Not every ad can afford to be decked out as extravagantly as you. Especially not those the state buys in bulk. There's an audience. You mean the gallery? That's nothing. It could have been a lot worse. Word of any trial in the case of David Asher's death must have spread like wildfire. Even a mock trial like this one. Detectives like Reyes or London would get chewed out for leaking things to the press. But uninformed officers had little to lose and a lot to gain by dropping a text to their attentive friends in the media. And then there's the corporate plants. Interns usually, preferably ones with modded eyes. It's illegal to film inside a courtroom, but this is the year 2086. Things are gonna get out one way or another. I don't like having my face on camera. I don't like attention in general. But I'm not such a coward that I'd skip David's funeral just because there'd be paparazzi outside of it. My pretty little likeness was gonna end up in the backgrounds of some tabloid photograph one way or another by the end of this circus. At least this way it's decent marketing for my legal services. What will happen once the adjutant finishes loading? How will the trial proceed? With all those films you watch, I figured you could extrapolate. I am asking so as to correct any misconceptions. Well, not everything you saw on the silver screen is outdated. The court will come to order, and there will be a clarification of the charges. The defense enters a plea, and if it's not guilty, the prosecution begins making their case. That means calling witnesses to the stand, correct? Mostly. Sometimes they'll testify virtually from a separate location. Depends on the security concerns surrounding the particular individual and the case. What do you do then? Sit here and watch? Not if I want to get paid.
I cross-examine witnesses after the prosecution are done questioning them. I can present evidence or witnesses of my own in response, as long as I have discovery backing me. You've said that before. Discovery means just that I can't pull stuff out of my pockets and present it without any kind of context. So, in other words, you can't pull an Ace Attorney. Got it. I have to have proof that I acquired it legally during the course of my investigation. Most of the time, that means having recordings or witnesses that can verify my investigation. Which I can provide. You didn't think I was letting you tag along because I liked you, did you? And the jury? I don't see where they would sit. The jury hasn't sat in the actual courtroom for years now. They have their own chambers, where they watch a feed of the trial's proceedings in anonymity. And that's not an issue. Don't people want to look someone in the eye before passing judgment on them? You've got an old-fashioned sense of justice, don't you? But there's no jury at a preliminary hearing anyway. It's only meant to evaluate whether or not the prosecution has enough evidence to go to trial. A mere formality in today's day and age. With tools like optics and arcs, there's never any shortage of evidence to work with. So all you have to do today is convince the adjutant? Easier said than done. Adjutants lean heavily towards evidence over arguments. And right now, all the evidence suggests that David killed himself. If it's going to be an uphill battle, I can't afford to stumble. If I need to focus on establishing an alternate interpretation of the facts, and it needs to be solid. But I don't have a suspect or even motive for killing David. Yet. Anyway, I'll need to be sharp. Emma doesn't play nice enough for me to be anything less. I think it's waking up. What the fuck kind of voice do I even give this thing? Like, she did the sassy cross-leg and everything. Glam voice? Christ, how would I even do that? No. I'm not giving her the fucking Wilford Brimley voice. You know what? I'm going to take a small break, get another bottle of water, because I have gone through an entire one, and I'm going to figure it out while I do that. Okay, I have returned. And I still haven't figured out what kind of voice I want to give this character. Oh, God. Well, I guess I'm just gonna wing it as soon as I get a drink. About that one Pokemon lady that scares you? You mean Cynthia? Because, like, here's the problem with that. I don't think Cynthia has ever had an actual voice outside of the anime, which I did not watch. So I have no idea how the fuck that would sound. Okay. Okay, let's do this. I say let's do this, and immediately I'm waffled. Do I want to go high or low pitch? Fuck it. I need to give my voice a break, I think, with the high pitch stuff. So we're gonna try to go sultry. This third lower court is now in session. Adjutant AD-84 presiding. I was not expecting the fucking emojis on the blindfold. Jesus Christ. I call to order the case of the People v. Asher. Why the sassy leg cross? Come on, game! Do the people wish to make an opening statement? No, Your Honor. No point in bothering when it's just the adjutant here. Very well. Did the defense wish to make an opening statement? Not at this time, Your Honor. Might as well ring the bell and get this shit show start. If neither the people nor the defense wish to make an opening statement, then it falls to me to set the stage. What? Set the stage? I'm sorry? My model name is Adjutant. My unit designation code is AD-84. I am a machine, an automated dependent, and I serve the state by presiding over trials. I love that even Emma is like, what the fuck is going on? You might find yourself wondering, why? What gives a machine the right to judge a human? A fair question, but the answer is simple. In every culture, in every society, no matter how it is worshipped, enshrined, or deified, justice has one defining quality. Justice is beautiful. I don't like that face, madam. I don't like it. Like a balanced equation, the golden ratio, like the Vertuvian man, justice is beautiful. So, what gives me the right? This gorgeous bod. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Oh my god. Ah. And also, there is no fucking way I can do that voice. Hell nah. Oh, the Morgan's just like, what the fuck? Whatever, forget it. Forget I said anything. I was trying to lighten the mood, but I can see everyone hates me. Do the trial without me, they're guilty or whatever. Your Honor. Wait, what the flip? This defendant's already dead. Why are we doing this? Is this a debug thing? Because I'll log the error if I need to. No, Your Honor. This is a preliminary hearing to determine whether David Asher did, in fact, commit suicide as he... I get it. You want to make sure he wasn't cuckoo in the cranium before you cut up his will like a T-bone. I didn't realize the adjutants were so lively. They aren't. They're supposed to be austere and statuesque. Looks like we got served the most in need of repairs adjutant the court system could find. Whatever paper pusher we rushed to get this trial going must have wanted a little payback for the kindness. What's that look for? Could it be you're trying to size me up? Madam? Madam, how are you blushing? How are you blushing? Like, legitimately, how are you blushing? Also, stop. Stop blushing, please. Wouldn't dream of it, Your Honor. Good, because if you have doubts about my ability to run this trial, I could always just enact summary judgment here and now. I'm sure you'd find my ruling to be fair and even-handed. That won't be necessary, Your Honor. He's much more of a character than I'm used to seeing up there, even counting all the flesh and blood judges I've met. But she's still just an adjutant. She'll follow the evidence where it leads. So as long as I can make a few adjustments for the occasional outburst from the bench, my plan's still workable. Judge Dorcas to the stand. So, people, shall we get started with that first witness? Right away, Your Honor. The people called Dr. Yumi Sato to the stand. You were not wrong, no. Also, the fucking V3 witness pods, like, goddamn. It's Yumi. Hey. So how about it, pretty lady? You swear to tell the whole truth and unadulterated truth to the best of your ability? I do. Good enough for me. Dr. Sato, you were in charge of the autopsy for David Asher, were you not? I was. And when did you make your examination? I started last night. Well, technically, 1 a.m. would be very early this morning. I think you can still say last night if you're talking about 1 in the morning. Objection? I swear to God, if she pulls a almost Christmas means it wasn't Christmas, I'm going to fucking shit. The defense will have their opportunity to cross-examine. Until then, they should refrain from making errant remarks. The hell? All I said was... Yeah, what she said. You mean sustained? Don't get cute with me, counselor. The fuck did I do there? Being cute is my job. Yo, I can't fucking even with this. What the hell is happening? Holy shit. Also, the judge has a bio. Oh god. 80? Date of birth, September 2nd. Height, 263 centimeters. Weight, 299 kilograms. Blood type, none. Occupation, automated dependent adjutant. Likes, raw salmon, running water, gymnastics. Why does she like raw salmon? Or running water for that matter? Dislikes, criminal, contrarians, pigeons. Sign, Libra, self-assigned. Type, open, obedient, observant, O people. Why are her measurements in here? Like, goddamn. Like, just, what the fuck, even? God damn, we've barely gotten started. You need to read the behind the scenes. Oh, I will. Believe me.
That seemed pretty bad, Adonai. You should try to avoid being penalized in the future. Thanks for the tip. Blind -1. What?
Shake it off. I'll get my chance to raise objections of my own soon enough.
Dr. Sato, were you able to determine the cause of death?
He passed away due to respiratory failure.
Could you explain what that means to the court?
Essentially, he wasn't getting enough oxygen into his blood. It seems by the time he arrived at the hospital, he was no longer breathing.
What does respiratory failure look like? What are the symptoms?
There would be lightheadedness, dizziness, fainting, pale skin, and a bluish tinge around certain extremities.
And the condition he was in matched those symptoms?
Correct.
In your experience, what are the most common causes of respiratory failure?
It can be caused by injury or disease, but the subject had no wounds or reported illnesses and otherwise appeared to be perfectly healthy.
And what else could cause respiratory failure then?
It is also commonly seen in fatal drug overdoses.
Drug overdoses. Did you perform a tox screen on Dr. Asher?
Yes, but his tox screen came back clean. Whatever killed him, it wasn't something we've encountered before. Wait, a clean tox screen. Clean? Can't let this chance slip by. I need to catch her mistake the second it comes out of her mouth. Contract, upright cup. Okay. Oxygen and headiness. Okay, so this is closer to something like Danganronpa, I guess. Those came back clean. Fuck, there's like a time limit? Okay. Okay. Well then. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of that. Is there a way to... Let's see. UI, tutorials enabled. Why is the tutorials enabled off? I told that to be on because I didn't know the fucking mechanics for the court thing. Oh, okay. Hang on. Load. When is the last autosave? Okay. Do a manual save first? Okay. Save. Go. Load. Autosave. Alright, how far back is this? Okay, here we go. Settings, I want to make sure... Okay, tutorials are on now. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay. Come on. I don't want to go as fast as just holding control. I would much rather just manually click through this so I don't accidentally go too far. And no, I'm not. Dude. Yeah. Hold up. Give me the... Oh my god, game. I want to go into the fucking log so I can see what I accidentally clicked through. God damn. Yay, blind. So, the problem there is that I need a moment to read what the description is on it. And I am a bad reader. And those time frames are not really accessible. Automatically during testimony, you can still advance carefully and wait for the witness to make a statement that sounds wrong. Call button to fluff. The beginning until you call. Okay. Whiskey. No form. Okay, so it wasn't that. Proven inconclusive. Okay, so it's the cup I want. You're joking, right? Just trying to keep things light. But that was... but that's supposed to be my... I've already lost the voice I've given the judge. Like, fuck, God. That's supposed to be my job. So quit scabbing. Overruled. I'm sorry. Wait. Hang on. No. Fucking... No. No. What the fuck? No foreign elements or toxins. Toxicology tests have proven inconclusive. The fuck? No, I really dislike that. I'm actually mad about that one. Oh, God, motherfucker. I did not mean... I'm actually really upset about that. That's bullshit. Taking a second because that actually made me genuinely mad. That is such bullshit for a tutorial thing. Like, no, I'm sorry. You need to be more clear with your signposting. And you need to not have a fucking timer on it. Ugh. It's impossible for David Asher's talk screen to be clean, and we all know it, since he was on camera drinking alcohol the night that he died. Yes, and that clue was that there was something that the toxicology report did show, which it showed a designer drug. Like, you cannot have two plot points, one being an actual relevant thing, and the other being a random background element, and pick the background element to be the focus. Like, we spent a whole fucking conversation focused on the whole, like, inconclusive poison thing. Like, ugh. That's part of the talk screen. Like, that would be logged on the talk screen. I just need to take a minute. Because that is so... Like, between the unclear thing that they want you to pick up on and the minuscule time limit, like, no. This is something you need to give people time to reason out. You know, I think I'm actually going to just save and call it here for tonight. Because I need to see if there's some kind of way to mod out this timer. Because otherwise, the fun of the game has just all evaporated for me. I'm not going to get there, Cry. I can guarantee you that. I'm already well past where I usually end off anyway. And I don't want to deal with the timer right now. I hate to end on such a sour note, but I really, really hate this timer. So, anyway, we'll be back to 100 line next week. Or, I mean, tomorrow, not next week. I don't know if this will be back next week. It might take a bit to figure out a solution that I need. But in the meantime, I apologize for all the clicking that apparently picks up where my mouse is even when I'm alt-tabbed out. In the meantime, I'm going to send you all over to Adamia, I think. So, anyway. Thank y'all for coming in and hanging out. Hopefully, the next time this comes back, I'll have cooled off. But in the meantime, y'all have an excellent evening. Take care, and I will catch you all later.